And that's all you can say at this point. It's all that we should be really expected to say. And when I say we, I say guys that do what we do. I've listened to show after show after show today of we don't know what to say, so we bring in all these experts to talk about it, and that's what we're going to do. As he said, we're going to have our chief medical correspondent on to talk about what happened last night, or as best as we understand what happened last night. Some of the experts are saying that it was an incident of commotio cordis. We'll have Devin Joba, our chief medical correspondent for the Sportsocracy, explain to us what that is. Who can it happen to? And from what I've read about it, it's a very rare, terrifying prospect. And I think that's what we all come away with watching last night. Going, we know week in and week out that these guys in the NFL, they strap it on and they go at it and they hit hard and they're locked into the game and they're all in it to win it. And at any moment, something devastating can happen. But normally what we think about devastating to happen is somebody tears an ACL or somebody, separates a shoulder or whatever the case may be. You don't ever think that it's just a blink of an eye. Your life can be taken. And obviously that's not the case with DeMar. He is alive and in critical condition right now, still at UC Medical Center there in Cincinnati. And still fighting for his life, and we support him in that endeavor, and we want to make sure that that is the first and foremost. But if you don't come away from Monday Night Football last night having a little bit more respect for the players of this game and exactly what is on the line each and every time they step between those painted sidelines, I can't help you, because that's what I did. I came away from that game going, this is a sad reality of what can happen when they go on the field.
Aaron Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show earlier, and I feel like he just said this better than I could say it. The potential for this never even crossed my mind, and maybe I'm naive. I don't know. I never played in the NFL. I did play sports my entire life. I played contact sports my entire life. And my immediate thoughts were just, it never even dawned on me. And then immediately I went to T. Higgins. T. Higgins did absolutely nothing wrong. But that doesn't matter. And if you've played sports, I have injured people before. Not intentionally, but I've done it, never to this level. The sinking feeling of that is hard to express to people that have not played sports. Mm-hmm. And my thoughts have gone to him as well. Of the reports out of Cincinnati last night where he was borderline inconsolable in the tunnel with his mother. And you have to understand that these guys put their lives on the line basically for our entertainment. Yes, they're paid. I get all of that. The next person that ever tells me an athlete's overpaid, don't be shocked when my reaction is a little visceral.
Right.
I hear that a lot.
Oh yeah.
And my reaction is always visceral. And now it's going to be exponentially more so, because we have now seen what can happen. I don't envy Roger Goodell. I did not envy Scott Van Pelt, Ryan Clark, Lisa Salters, Joe Buck, and Troy Aikman last night. I thought they handled that perfectly. I felt like Scott Van Pelt did a masterclass in how professionals in our business handle themselves. Mm-hmm. And Ryan Clark, who I often don't agree with, I thought he did the same thing. And it is a heartbreaking scenario. And I don't know how you go on. I really don't. For the Buffalo Bills, for the Cincinnati Bengals, either one. I have absolutely no idea how you go on.
Yep.
And you continue from this.
Mm-hmm. Sad thing is, it's got to go on.
It does. Later in the show, we'll discuss what we believe will happen with this game, because that's what we do. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, we're two sports talking heads, and some people will probably think that it's crass, or we're here to entertain. And in a day like this, if we can provide people with a few hours of not thinking about what they witnessed last night, then I can go home and say we did our jobs today.
But Damar Hamlin, as the only updates that we have is that he is still in critical condition at UC Medical Center in Cincinnati after going into cardiac arrest during the first quarter of last night's Monday Night Football game between the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. The reactions from around the NFL have been heartfelt, and you can really feel it when these players get on Twitter and are sending up prayers and
when something like this happens, the logo that you wear, the jersey that you wear, none of that matters.
No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter
because
who
this is a brotherhood that is really hard to explain to people.
Just about an hour ago, I was watching the coverage on ESPN, and one of the reporters was outside the UC Medical Center, and he was talking about last night being outside the hospital when Stephon Diggs showed up. He got out of an Uber by himself. There was no entourage. There was no escort. There was nothing. It was just Stephon Diggs pulled up, got out of an Uber, and started wandering around trying to find the entrance to the hospital so he could get in there and see his teammate. And the reporter saw him, went to him, helped him try to find the right entrance. They had to talk to the security guards, and then the reporter had to explain to the security guard that this is Stephon Diggs. This is one of the hottest players in the NFL. He's a teammate of the player that went down during the game. We need to get him in. And Stephon had only really one thing to say. That's my brother in there, and I need to be able to get in there. I need to be with him. This is the place that I need to be. I don't need to be back on the bus or back on the plane going back to Buffalo. I don't need to be anywhere else but right here next to my guy. And you got massive respect for that. And all the players are in the same boat. So we are going to, like I said, endeavor to give you a little bit of escapism on this very, very tough day to talk about. And I couldn't help but go back and think how this all started. Not Monday Night Football or not the not the game or the hit with DeMar. How our show started. Our very first show on ESPN Asheville was the day after the death of Kobe Bryant in the helicopter crash. It's almost been 3 years to the day that's how this all started. And it's weird that January, first real show of January, 2023, we're having to do another very tough radio show. But we're here for you. Get your chats in. Super chats and the YouTube stream will all be going to the Chasing M's Foundation. This is a foundation that was set up by Damar Hamlin for the kids in his hometown after the pandemic, and it's basically like the Eblin Charity St. Nicholas Project.
That was I thought about that a lot last night.
Raising money to pay for needy kids to have presents to open at Christmas. He had a $250,000 goal to raise money.
$2,500 goal.
Oh, it's a $2,500
goal.
Excuse me. A $2,500 goal.
The last we looked, it was at $4.3 million.
Yes. They had surpassed the goal for the year, but since last night, NFL fans, Buffalo Bills fans, NFL players, anybody associated with the game, over 150,000 people have given to the charity, and it has now raised more than $4 million, which, by the way, is more than the contract that Hamlin is playing under for the next 3 years with the Buffalo Bills. It warms my heart to see that when a player is in need, we help out any way we can.
Patrick Holt with our first one of those. It just says prayers for a full recovery. We will not be playing the sound with super chats today. You'll see little things like that. We're not going to do those things, but we are going to try to entertain.
Yes,
for a few hours here.
Absolutely. And as we said, coming up later on in the program, top of the 4 o'clock hour, we will be joined by our chief medical correspondent, Devin Joba. who will talk to us about the medical side of all of this and responding to such an incident, how the NFL handled. I mean, there's no doubt there were angels on that field last night to help Damar Hamlin. And we will talk to, of course, our chief resident, and yes, that's pun intended, Asheville Police Chief David Zack, the Buffalo Bills Mafia member himself, will be joining us later on in the program as well to talk about, how the Bills and their fan base just wrap their arms around the community and their players. You're in the Sportsocracy. It is ESPN Asheville. Sports leagues are chock full of winners and losers.
Correct.
And I'm happy to call myself a loser because in a year I've lost more than 90 pounds with the PhD weight loss program. It was last Thanksgiving week that met with Dr. Ashley Lucas. She told us this is the program to see great results. And she was not lying. More than 90 pounds down, I feel like a brand new Tank Spencer.
I did not have 90 pounds to lose, but I had gotten a little chunky. My food decisions had become very lazy, and I was causing some problems. I wasn't sleeping well. My knees hurt. Just over a year on this program, I'm back to my high school weight, sleeping like a baby, and everything's back to hunky-dunky, and it's all thanks to the plan and program of PhD Weight Loss.
It's the easiest program I've ever been on. They give you 80% of the food you need to have success, and you will just be amazed. I am proof positive that it can change your life and help you win that battle with your weight once and for all. Go to myphdweightloss.com. It's myphdweightloss.com.
Everyone's heard about the housing market and this being the best time to sell a house in years. But the same thing applies to cars. Whether you're looking to buy a car, trade in, or sell that car in the driveway collecting dust, Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville wants to buy your car. They have 2 on-site managers that work with Kelly Blue Book to give you top dollar for your vehicle. You can even have your car appraised instantly at AndersonNissan.com. Stop in and visit them today at 629 Brevard Road in Asheville or call them at 828-365-1663.
If cleanliness is next to godliness, look around the car right now. Is that very godly? Look, life comes at you fast, but so does WNC Auto Detailing. They have the tools to make your interior look like it's coming off the showroom floor. You don't believe me? Check them out on Instagram. All that filth and years of stains disappear. WNC Auto Detailing does full interior and exterior details with paint correction, and they do wax and ceramic coatings. Call WNC Auto Detailing at 455-3700. Premium care with a Southern hospitality touch.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help more or less and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Let me guess. Unknown caller? You could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection. The latest innovation from Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And we'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
We are back in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. The NFL put out a statement about an hour ago. About 2 hours ago. They said the NFL continues to be in regular contact with the medical team caring for Damar Hamlin and also the Bills and the Bengals organizations and the NFL Players Association. After speaking with both teams and NFLPA leadership, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell informed the clubs today that the Bills-Bengals game will not be resumed this week. The NFL has made no decision regarding the possible resumption of the game at a later date. The league has not made any changes to the Week 18 regular season schedule. We will continue to provide additional information as it becomes available. We're all concerned, obviously, about the health and the safety of DeMar Hamlin.
That's the first and foremost.
Absolutely. That is number one. But you also have to take into account that last night's game was a premier game of the week as far as playoff seeding comes into play.
Well, and I've been asked this question all day long of what does the NFL do? And I have tried to come up with what I think would be – none of this is fair, but that's the only word that I can come up with.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about playoff tickets is that nobody knows when they're playing where. So my thought is that Week 18 goes off exactly how we thought it would. And then this game is made up the Thursday following. And then you push the playoffs back a week. So I don't think it makes any sense. I know for the teams, it's unfair to ask them to think about that right now. That's Roger Goodell's job. Mm-hmm. There's a reason you make however much money you make. You have to make these decisions. And that leads me into something else I want to talk about, which is the people railing on Joe Buck for saying that the teams would have 5 minutes. Let me explain to you how that works, and you've worked far more in-booth play-by-play than I have. That could have come from anybody. Mm-hmm. That could have come from the voice in his ear. It does not mean that it came from the NFL. There's no telling who it came from. He repeated it because Joe Buck was being asked to do something that no commentator has ever had to do before. Mm-hmm. So maybe lay off Joe Buck. The NFL taking an hour to postpone the game, I understand that. Mm-hmm. You're trying to get information as it comes in.
You need to take the time to determine whether or not this is as serious as it was. Obviously, they made the right call in the end, and we hope that he makes a recovery and all of that. But you had to give them time to figure out what was going on, because had it been anything lesser, you could have played the game and you could have moved on. He was fine, got the win, knocked out him, whatever. I get, they were doing CPR on the field and all of that. That's unprecedented.
And you got to say we didn't know that for 20 minutes.
Exactly.
And the only reason we did know that is because a reporter on the sideline tweeted it. That's the only reason.
Right. So, look, I don't know what the NFL was thinking. I don't know what was in their heads. I don't feel like they dropped the ball.
No, I feel like they did the exact same thing I did. You have become almost desensitized to the violence of this game. And so when things like this happen, you're just expecting that moment is going to come where, yes, you see him on the stretcher, but then you see that thumb come up. Mm-hmm. I feel like every person that's ever played this game was doing the exact same thing I was.
Yep.
And then that never happened.
You're waiting for the sign that everything's going to be okay.
And then that never happened. And it was almost like, I feel like Roger Goodell, Troy Vincent, who played this game at a high level, they're all doing the same thing of, okay, what do we do now? We've never faced this before. I mean, my first tangible memory of the NFL was Dennis Byrd.
Yeah.
I remember it vividly like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, being a Jets game, it was on in your house.
And I remember my father's reaction of just complete silence and completely stunned. And this even felt different than that. But I'm sitting in my living room. I've got my wife that looks at me and goes, well, you're the sports guy. So what happens now? And for the first time in my life, I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. I feel like this game does have to be played. I do. I don't feel like you can punish the Bills and the Bengals by – it is crass to have to talk about the game, but that's at some point that's what you got to do.
Right.
So you're telling me the Chiefs are basically going to walk to the 1 seed because this happened, and you're going to punish the two teams that it happened to. That doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't feel right.
No, but it also doesn't feel right to immediately push all of the players back into service.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of reaction on Twitter last night when Buffalo flew out.
Right.
That was always what was going to happen.
Well, yeah, because they had to check out of the hotel.
I had to tell several people on Twitter this. Do you understand how many people travel with this team?
Mm-hmm.
So now, in the midst of all this, you're going to try to find a hotel room. You're going to try to find 200 hotel rooms that you were not planning on.
Right.
The logistics of that don't make sense.
No, they
so
don't.
it was always you had to fly back to
and
Buffalo.
you knew they weren't going to play any. It wasn't going to be like, oh, we'll just stay and we'll play it tomorrow.
That was
never
that
gonna
was
happen.
gone early.
Right.
This is an unprecedented thing.
Right. So Buffalo goes back to, the Bills go back to Buffalo. I guess that's the way I should say that. And now we're waiting for the league to determine what's going to happen with the game. And I think at this point, the NFL is just, let's wait and see. Let's not move anything until we have to. We can make adjustments on the fly if necessary. Because, look, yes, there's a battle for the number 1 seed going on in the AFC. You got the Kansas City Chiefs are a half a game up right now because they played one extra game than the Buffalo Bills. They are at the top. Buffalo Bills are chasing that. Should weirdness happen next week, should the Kansas City Chiefs go and lose to the Las Vegas Raiders, not a great possibility of that happening, but maybe it could. Buffalo Bills beat New England Patriots at 1 o'clock on Sunday. I just saw that they had just announced that was not going to be flexed to a primetime game, that is going to be a 1 o'clock game. So next Sunday afternoon, Buffalo Bills beat the New England Patriots. Kansas City loses to the Las Vegas Raiders. You're done. You don't have to play this game. Buffalo gets the number 1 seed. You can go on winning percentage. You can just say, that's it. We don't have to move anything. Buffalo gets the number 1 seed. Now, should they both win next week, which is the more likely possibility, then I think you have to play the game.
I would agree.
You have to play the game.
Look, we proved during the COVID year, these things are not as set as we want to believe.
Right.
The NFL often says, oh, we can't flex a game to Monday night. I have always been of the belief of, yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can, because you did it several times during the COVID year. Remember
we
how
as a
we talked
society
about the
are very
Pittsburgh
malleable.
Steelers all the time? We talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers during the COVID year, that they didn't get a bye week because they had like 4 games had to be shifted.
We have proven, if 2020 and on has proved anything, it's that we're very malleable as a society.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL did not miss a game through that. And I feel like the only thing that makes sense is that you push the playoffs back.
I would agree.
And then you take out the Pro Bowl week. You still have the Pro Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue you do it after the Super Bowl, which makes sense anyway. But that's the least of our concerns.
Mm-hmm.
You push the playoffs back. They start 1 week from next weekend. And then we just try to go business as usual.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only thing I can think of.
Right. And this is me as a little old radio host in Asheville, North Carolina. I don't know anything. But if it were me and I were the NFL, I would just wait. Wait and see what happens in Week 18. If it turns out that Buffalo wins and Kansas City loses, then we can just not play the game and Buffalo gets the number 1 seed and we can move on. Now, Kansas City wins and Buffalo loses, obviously it's not a concern either, because Kansas City will get it. If you end up in a possible scenario where these two teams could be tied at the top of the standings, then that's when you make the adjustment. You move on the fly. You push the games back. You have the extra week. You just can't squeeze it all into such a tight little time frame. In order to give them 6 days between every game for the next 3 weeks, these playoff teams, you would have to play the game tomorrow. And I don't feel like that's
not going to happen.
That's obviously not going to happen because the NFL says we're not going to play this game this week. But if you wanted to press the issue, that's the only way you could have done it. Now that you've said you're not going to, just wait. Just wait and see what happens in Week 18. And then we'll make the call on whether this game has to be played or not. But again, all of that pales in comparison to the number 1 thought of the day. It's Damar Hamlin's safety, Damar Hamlin's health. We all want him to get better. We all want to see him back on that field. You are in the Sportsocracy here on ESPN Asheville.
This is your Exergen Temporal Scanner weather forecast on ESPN Asheville. Some of the highest elevations to our west have had some 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts and showers coming in from the west tonight and Wednesday here. Mild temperatures, 58 degrees our low tonight. Morning rains Wednesday, breezy, high 66, low 40. And then sunshine Thursday, Friday, high temps in the 40s and 50s and lows near freezing in the valley. The weekend will be in the 50s. I'm meteorologist Scott Larimore. That's the latest Weather Channel forecast.
This report is sponsored by First Restoration Services of Asheville.
First Restoration Services has been responding 24/7 to property damage from water, fire, and storm damage since 1987. If you have a disaster on your property, there's only one company to call first. First Restoration Services of Asheville, 684-1582.
My partners had told me I should get my knee replaced. I was in my 40s, and I decided that I wouldn't do that.
That's orthopedic surgeon Dr. John Herzog, who found regenerative medicine years ago and became a believer.
It changed my life around. It improved me to a point where I was able to jog again.
That's when Dr. Herzog switched his focus from surgery to helping his patients with natural biologics.
I've treated at least 5,000 patients. I believe your body has everything it needs to heal itself.
Today, you'll find Dr. Herzog at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in this exciting field of medicine that can give lasting pain relief with no downtime, no drugs, and no surgery.
I have patients coming up to me that I did 10 years ago saying, Doc, my elbow's still working great. I'm playing tennis 3 days a week.
Call QC Kinetics now to explore alternative ways to deal with your pain. It's a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 828-333-9517. That's 828-333-9517. 828-333-9517.
All the radio stations you love, every playlist to match your mood, the podcasts that everyone's talking about. If it's on the iHeartRadio app, it's free. Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
iHeartRadio.
Some people get COVID and thought, well, that wasn't such a big deal. But you can get COVID again, and next time it could be worse, especially for those 50 and older, or with a chronic condition like heart disease or diabetes. But with an updated vaccine, you have better protection from COVID's worst outcomes, and that's a big deal. Find updated COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
For more information about contests on the station, log on to espnavl.com.
I believe real estate isn't about properties. It's about people. I'm Clarissa Hyatt-Zach with eXp Realty, serving all of Western North Carolina. Navigating the home buying and selling journey can feel overwhelming at times, and that's why having an agent who cares about you and your needs is key. I'm a native of Western North Carolina, and I close over a home a week. I'm an expert in the market, pricing my sellers correctly to net you the most money, and working as a skilled negotiator for my buyers. Please give me a call today at 828-774-6343 to set up a complimentary market analysis.
The Ingles Advantage isn't just about savings or the best quality food for your family. It's more than that. It's the advantage of being a part of a community. That's why we provide over 2 million pounds of food every year through regular donations and programs like the Ingles Giving Tree, Food for Thought, and the Ingles Fill a Backpack program. It's the right thing to do, and we know that you would do the same. Ingles, your neighbor for over 50 years.
You are in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville, and, of course, still the same. We will give you an update whenever we get one about the status of Damar Hamlin, the Buffalo Bills player that suffered a cardiac arrest on the field last night on Monday Night Football. We're all sending our thoughts and prayers to him and his family for a speedy recovery. But there's also major rumors going around the NFL today, including a report that Carolina Panthers owner David Tepper has talked with Jim Harbaugh about the open head coaching spot. Home run. If you can pull this off, this will be the grand slam of the Carolina Panthers franchise history.
I would agree with that. It's the best hire you could possibly make. I'll go one step further. I said this yesterday. Jim Harbaugh's taking an NFL job.
Mm-hmm.
There is no doubt in my mind about that. You do realize he took a pay cut at Michigan, which is borderline unheard of. And now I have a figure. I've had it on Sean Payton forever. It's $25 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it will take to get Sean Payton to coach your team, and it's going to be the New Orleans Saints.
Mm-hmm.
I said that, 6 weeks ago?
I believe so.
Jim Harbaugh is in the $18 to $20 million range. There are 2 owners I know that can pay that pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
David Tepper is one, and the Walton family is the other.
Right.
With the Denver Broncos.
Right.
I said yesterday he would be the next coach of the Indianapolis Colts. I still think they are in contention for his services.
Mm-hmm.
But ask yourself the question that I often ask when it comes to things like this. Who wants you to know this? Why do we know this so easily? ESPN, Pro Football Talk, NBC Sports, they all have stories that Jim Harbaugh has been in contact with Carolina Panthers, David Tepper. The Denver Broncos have interest. Who wants you to know this?
Jim Harbaugh's agent.
Jim Harbaugh. It's Jim Harbaugh that's looking at how Michigan fans have turned on him in the course of 2 or 3 days of this is just your high side. I thought you were content with me beating Ohio State.
Right.
I've done that 2 years in a row.
Right.
I thought you were content with getting to the playoffs. Yes, you won a national title. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jim Harbaugh is figuring something out.
I was going to say, this is how fan bases work, and we all know it. We're happy when you can get to the high side and you can beat Ohio State. Okay, you went to the college football playoff last year and you lost, but we could still take pride in the Big Ten championship game and beating Ohio State, snapping the streak, all that kind of stuff. Now you went back to the college football playoff. This time, you were expected to win. You weren't expected to win last year when you were playing Georgia.
No.
You were expected to win when you were playing TCU, who everybody undersold, including myself.
And Michigan.
Right. We all undersold TCU.
I wouldn't say we. I do know a guy that took TCU plus the points.
I was like, you didn't think they'd win that game, though.
No, I actually specifically said they're not going to win, but they're going to cover.
Exactly. So, I mean, expecting a good game and expecting the upset that was is a little bit different in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. You were expected to make it to the college football, the national championship game, and you didn't. And now I think Jim Harbaugh looks back and he goes, you know what? I'm done. Because shy of winning the national championship is not going to be good enough for any of you. And I can go back to the NFL, and I can go rescue a drowning franchise, whether it be the Indianapolis Colts or the Carolina Panthers or the Denver Broncos, and I will immediately make them contenders, at least for division titles. Maybe not Super Bowls right away, but I've already been to one. I've already done this before.
Mm-hmm.
You remember I took over the San Francisco 49ers, and I took them to a Super Bowl, played against my brother in the Super Bowl. I mean, he lost, 19 games in 4 years in the
Correct.
NFL?
He's 44-19-1.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a little trivia question, just because I'm curious how close you can come to this.
Okay.
How many coaches in NFL history have a better winning percentage than Jim Harbaugh?
Oh, better winning percentage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's 5.
Okay.
Ever. Guy Chamberlain. That name familiar to you?
No.
It shouldn't be, because he coached 100 years ago. John Madden, Vince Lombardi, George Allen, and Matt LaFleur. That's it.
That's it.
End of message. Repeat the line.
Mm-hmm.
Of course teams have an interest in Jim Harbaugh.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a Carolina Panther market. Do you not think that Panther fans would absolutely lose their minds if they brought in Jim Harbaugh?
100% they would.
And you should.
Mm-hmm.
And you should.
Without having the better... See, and here's also the thing. The Steve Wilkes talk was all well and good.
Steve Wilkes can come back and be the defensive coordinator. There's nothing precluding
And if you
that.
can convince him to do that, I think you absolutely should. It's like the Las Vegas Raiders. They should have been able to convince Rich Bisaccia to stay on. Maybe that's not what Josh McDaniels wanted when they made him the head coach, or maybe Rich didn't want to be the special teams coordinator. But if Steve wants to stay on as the DC, he's got the respect of the locker room. There's obviously something there with him. I just never felt like he was head coach material. But I felt like all Carolina Panthers fans were looking at it going, he's the guy, he needed the shot, and look how well he did. Okay, well, at the end of the day, you went 6-6, right? Is my math off on that? I think it was 6-6 to finish out the season. Or if you win next week, it'll be 6-6.
That sounds about right.
Something to that effect. So I get that you want to keep the guy around, but making him the head coach, especially when there's a better option on the table, is not the way to go.
Steve Wilkes is not the right call.
No.
He's not.
Jim Harbaugh, on the other hand, that's a proven NFL head coach.
And you have to remember two things. One, this is not a huge media market. This is not New York or Houston or Dallas or any of those.
And a large
this is the Gordon Hayward rule. We said this when the Charlotte Hornets made the move on Gordon Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you give him that much money? Because he'd take it. There are times that you have to look at somebody and go, do we want to run afoul of Steve Wilkes? No. Is he as good a coach as Jim Harbaugh? Vehemently no. And if this is a guy that's more interested in Carolina, which from what I have been told he is, George Cook in our YouTube comments said, I feel like Harbaugh would rather go to Denver. I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. If you look at the Denver Broncos, that is a historically good franchise. It's one of the most consistent franchises in the NFL. If Jim Harbaugh comes in there and rights the ship with Russell Wilson and the pieces in place there, who's going to get the credit? Denver. Because Denver is a good franchise that's been historically good. And then Nathaniel Hackett will be pawned off as he was just a terrible NFL head coach. We'll look at him in the same vein as Bobby Petrino and Lou Holtz and all these other one-and-done coaches. But then it will revert back to, of course, Jim Harbaugh went to Denver and won because it's a great, historically good franchise. Conversely, Carolina has been hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
They've had very, very high highs, been to 2 Super Bowls. They've had very low lows. And nobody has won there consistently. Before you throw me Ron Rivera, go check your numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Harbaugh could be, as you stated, the greatest hire in the history of that franchise.
Absolutely.
It could be the best day in the franchise's history.
This could be the move that you all wanted George Seifert to be. You remember when they made the George Seifert move and everybody, he's a great coach. Coached in a Super Bowl.
And George Cook's coming with some fire here of why would you want Sam Darnold or have to develop a rookie next year? You're missing the point. Jim Harbaugh is the definition of a type A personality. I would argue he's a triple A.
Mm-hmm.
You'd call him a battery.
Mm-hmm.
He wants the credit. Because if you think about what I said to start this, how many coaches have a higher winning percentage than Jim Harbaugh? Does anybody view him that way from his tenure in San Francisco? No, they do the same thing you did yesterday. But he couldn't get along with anybody in the organization, largely Trent Baalke and the Trent Baalke underlings.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Harbaugh wants to be remembered as a great coach. That's who he is. That's the reason he wears khaki pants on the sideline like he bought them at Target, because he wants to be known for who he is, none of the other things. And Carolina gives him a very malleable place to land. You got a lot of defensive pieces where you can bring in whoever you're comfortable with. You got to remember, look at his staff when he was in San Francisco. There was a lot of college guys.
Mm-hmm.
He did the same thing a lot of other college coaches have done. But it worked for him because they had some foothold in the NFL. They came in and did things the NFL way. I've always said Jim Harbaugh is an NFL coach. In college, the players pick you. In the NFL, you pick the players. Look how good a job Jim Harbaugh has done of developing guys that were 2- and 3-star recruits at Michigan. He can coach football players. I don't care how Ohio State Buckeye painted you are. You cannot look at Jim Harbaugh and not say he's a good coach. And I just feel like this is the time. I said, if you remember when he interviewed for Minnesota last year, and he said, I will never talk to the NFL again, I laughed out loud and went, you will be gone in a year. There are times you can't go home. And to me, I've always felt like Michigan is one of those places that you can't go home because they all want the Michigan man. They all long for Lloyd Carr because he won them 1 national title. In large part, he was not a good coach. And unless you can bring them that, you're always going to be looked at as a underling to the historical parts of that program. The more we steer into NIL, the harder it is to do this at a place like Michigan. It is oppressively cold in Michigan. Think about some 5-star wide receiver out of Texas. He goes and visits Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Florida State, Miami. Name me any other set of schools. Texas, Oklahoma.
Right.
And Michigan.
Right.
One of these I'm with pretty girls and 78-degree weather. The other I'm in Ann Arbor, Michigan with the guy with a leather helmet that they kept showing on television.
But you can still go swimming up here. We got lakes.
We got lakes that are frozen, and they're awesome. To me, this is a slam dunk. I think he is the first domino to fall. I thought it was going to be Sean Payton. I feel like at this point, Sports Freak Brian Hall and I were talking about this before the show. I feel like Jim Harbaugh is leveraging somebody. I just can't figure out who it is. He wants the. He's not doing this unless the offer is right.
There are Michigan insiders that have been quoted anonymously and also who have come out on Twitter who have said that this is going to happen. He's going to get an offer, and he's probably going to take it, and it's gonna happen really soon. Now, the Carolina Panthers strike while the iron's hot. Go get it while this is fresh on his mind, and he's still being battered by the Michigan faithful for losing that game to TCU. Go get it done. Bring him here. You said media market earlier. And what I immediately thought was he will much more enjoy being in the Charlotte media market than he would be in a major market somewhere else where the expectations are high and the fan base.
He has no problem with the expectations.
I know he's not afraid.
It's the delusion that he has a problem.
Right. He's not afraid of expectations and all of that. I understand that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the pressure is going to be way less for him here. Way less than it would be anywhere else. He's got ties to Carolina. He played here, and whether it only be for 10 minutes or whatever. But he's got significant ties to all three of these teams.
He's also looking at an owner. You know what? We got to take a break. Jim Harbaugh is the second biggest domino, and I think he's the first one to fall. But these two things are intertwined. And I think Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh are doing the exact same thing for two very different reasons. I'll tell you what that is after the break.
It's the Sportsocracy, and you're on ESPN Asheville. When I finally drove the old car into the grave, I knew there was only one place I was going to go. Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville, home of the family plan. And yes, they treat you like family. I went in, told them what I was looking for, told them my budget, and in no time, I was signing the paperwork on my certified pre-owned vehicle. They have the area's largest selection on quality pre-owned vehicles and certified Nissans. They go through a 167-point inspection, so you know it's not going to let you down. They gave me the Carfax report, so I know the history of my vehicle. And the Fred Anderson family plan gives me things like oil changes and car washes and loaner cars if I have to have major work done on the car in the future. For me, buying a car has always been an intimidating thought. But the folks at Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville made it super easy. Don't be like me. Don't wait till the last minute to get a deal done. Go to AndersonNissan.com or stop by the showroom at 629 Brevard Road. And don't forget to mention we sent you from the Sportsocracy and get a $250 bonus on your trade-in at Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville.
Real estate isn't about properties. It's about people. I'm Clarissa Hyatt-Zach with eXp Realty, your native realtor serving all of Western North Carolina. I will work hard for you, and I believe in doing the right thing every time. I market each of my listings to reach out-of-town buyers. I use a professional photographer and drone video on every single listing, as well as collaborate with agents across the country to find your buyer. Check me out online at clarissasellswnc.com or give me a call at 828-774-6343. It would be my pleasure to assist you through the real estate process.
Since man created roads, they've been looking for ways to get off-road and vehicles to take them there. That's where Outlaw Off-Road comes in. A premier off-road center for Jeeps, trucks, and SUVs with a complete lineup of off-road and overland services and prepare to make your vehicle all that it can be. Check out their location right here in Western North Carolina at 85 Avery Creek Road. Call them today at 828-974-8480 or visit them on the web at theoutlawoffroad.com.
Rogue Combat Club, Asheville's home for comprehensive martial arts training, has a goal for our community, one that's stronger, more fit, and unwavers in its support of one another. Rogue Combat Club's instructors have competed at the highest levels and offer classes for everyone from young children to adults in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and wrestling. Rogue Combat Club classes can help you boost your self-confidence and self-defense skills while weeding out the egos and intimidation found at other gyms. Join today at roguecombatclub.com.
Some people get COVID and thought, well, that wasn't such a big deal. But you can get COVID again, and next time it could be worse, especially for those 50 and older, or with a chronic condition like heart disease or diabetes. But with an updated vaccine, you have better protection from COVID's worst outcomes, and that's a big deal. Find updated COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The 2022 NFL season is underway, and there is no better way to stay current with all the news from around the league than with the NFL Now podcast. NFL reporters in the field and right out of the locker rooms, insiders in the know, insightful interviews, and immediate analysis. No waiting required. The time is now. NFL Now. 32 teams, one source. Join me, Andrew Siciliano, for all the football news you need to know. Listen to NFL Now on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
We are back in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville. Will David Tepper make the move? Apparently, he's already talked to Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh about taking the reins of the Carolina Panthers.
You also have to realize the Carolina Panthers are in the most infinitely winnable division I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
There are two teams in the NFL that are absolutely just crushed against the salary cap. It's Tampa Bay and New Orleans. Atlanta doesn't have a quarterback. Carolina will be in a position to draft one because you're going to pick in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I still maintain it's Will Levis. And by the way, I would love Will Levis with Jim Harbaugh. Now, the story would be a lot more fun if it was C.J. Stroud. You get the Ohio State quarterback with the Michigan man. I just don't see a path that's going to happen after the bowl game. I think all of the issues with C.J. Stroud were not completely put to rest, but quieted a little bit. I just feel like we're at a point where Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh are both using Denver. They know the Waltons have a ton of money, and that is one of their biggest things. I said in the last segment, Sean Payton wants $25 million a year. Jim Harbaugh wants 18 to 20. David Tepper will pay that.
Mm-hmm.
David Tepper will pay that. The thing with Sean Payton, I feel like you're leveraging this for the money. Because the New Orleans Saints are a notoriously cheap franchise. Gail Benson just doesn't have money like the Waltons or David Tepper. That's still where he ends up. That's still where he ends up. Because at the end of the day, who is going to give up the capital that you would have to give up to get Sean Payton and then pay him $25 million a year?
Right.
Pay him double what any other coach in the league makes.
Right. Still under contract with the New Orleans Saints, so you got to negotiate with them.
So, I mean, who is that team?
They're not negotiating with the Carolina Panthers.
The Arizona Cardinals can't afford that. That is literally the most cash-poor franchise in the NFL. They may not even be able to fight. They wanted Cliff Kingsbury to resign so they didn't have to pay him. That's not going to happen, by the way.
No.
So it's not going to be Arizona. Chargers aren't going to have an opening. I don't think he's committing to Indianapolis. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Only reason it does with Harbaugh is because he played there.
Mm-hmm.
And you look down the other teams in the NFL, they're going to have openings. I've said this for 6 weeks. The only thing that makes sense is that Sean Payton has a reunited and it feels so good with the New Orleans Saints.
I ask myself if I'm Jim Harbaugh in this situation. I get that I have ties to Denver. Part of their ownership group is Condoleezza Rice, who obviously he has a relationship with because she's part of the alumni group at Stanford, and he was there. She's part of the college football playoff committee, and she's one of the heads of their coaching search team right now. So that's the big insider tie to Jim Harbaugh with Denver. But then I look at Indianapolis, makes sense, played there. Carolina, played there for a minute, not as long as I did with Indianapolis, but still have some familiarity with the team. But I get to call my shots.
Mm-hmm.
And see, with Denver,
I'll bring in every person that I want.
With Denver, I'm forced to rehab Russell Wilson.
And George Payton and John Elway.
Right.
And all of the other pieces of that front office that are going to stay the same.
Right. But mainly this is tied to Russell Wilson. And I don't know that I want to take on that job.
I don't know that it's mainly tied to Russell Wilson. There's one big caveat with Denver that nobody seems to be entertaining, or at least they're not in any circles that I'm seeing.
Okay.
In Carolina, name me the quarterbacks that I have to deal with for the next 5 years.
None.
Not applicable.
Right.
In Denver, it's Pat Mahomes and Justin Herbert, and I've got Russell Wilson.
Oh, you're talking about outside of the team.
Mm-hmm. I'm talking about who am I going to have to beat to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. See, I wasn't even looking at it from that standpoint. I was looking at who's on my own team. I'm stuck with Russell Wilson. In Carolina, I get to draft a quarterback.
I get whoever I want.
I can go out on the free agent market. I can maybe get Jimmy Garoppolo to come play for me. I
can go get anyone I want.
Right.
I can build this team the way I want to.
Right. So, George, I think it was George Cook in the comments on YouTube that said, why would he want Sam Darnold? He doesn't. I don't think.
You can't say that.
Okay.
There are still a lot of people in league circles that think Sam Darnold has never been coached appropriately.
How about this? If it were me, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want a piece of Sam Darnold.
I would. For how cheap it's going to be?
Maybe.
My ideal scenario.
I'll bring him in as a backup.
No, not for me. I'll pay him $10 million a year.
I'll draft a quarterback, and I will let him be the guy.
Let me get there.
Yeah.
I will bring in Sam Darnold for $10 million, and I'll draft Will Levis and not have to play him immediately.
There you go.
And Matt Corral, bye.
I could live with that, but I'm not tying myself to him long term. See, what you saw from Russell Wilson this year, you don't know if that's real or not. You don't know if that was Nathaniel Hackett or if Russ is just system quarterback from Seattle and it only worked with Pete Carroll and that's the only place it's going to work. You don't know that. I'm not hinging my next NFL job because my next NFL job
is probably the last one.
You're in the Sportsocracy here on ESPN Asheville. Chief medical correspondent of the Sportsocracy, Devin Jobel, will join us after the Sports Center update to, of course, talk about what transpired last night on Monday Night Football.
This is your Exergen Temporal Scanner weather forecast on ESPN Asheville.
Some of the highest elevations to our west have had some 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts and showers coming in from the west tonight and Wednesday here. Mild temperatures, 58 degrees, our low tonight. Morning rains Wednesday, breezy, high 66, low 40. And then sunshine Thursday, Friday, high temps in the 40s and 50s, and lows near freezing in the valley. The weekend will be in the 50s. I'm meteorologist Scott Larimore. That's the latest Weather Channel forecast.
This report is sponsored by AutoZone. Get in the zone. What makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination? Because they offer free battery testing and charging and reliable replacement batteries starting at just $79.99. And they've always got your battery solution. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
We could talk about how complicated other banks make it to redeem credit card rewards. Or we could talk about how with Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Talk about amazing. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Is it getting harder to find new customers? After all, it's one thing to run a business and another to grow it, especially these days. But what if you had access to everyone listening to me right now? Access to all the customers in your area. As the #1 audio company in America, iHeartMedia gives you access to all the customers you need to grow at a fraction of the cost of digital, video, and social advertising, with experts ready to craft your message fast. Get started today at iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
That dog does not want to be petted.
Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
From the Ingles Studios, this is ESPN Asheville, WPEK, W225CJ Fairview, WMXF Waynesville, and iHeart Radio Station.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The NFL has released a statement saying it continues to be in contact with the medical team in Cincinnati caring for Bills safety Damar Hamlin, who remains in critical condition after suffering cardiac arrest following a hit in the first quarter on Monday Night Football against the Bengals. Commissioner Raj Goodell has informed the Bills and Bengals that their suspended game will not be resumed this week. The league has made no decision regarding the possible resumption of the game at a later date. In addition, the NFL hasn't made any changes to the Week 18 regular season schedule. Hamlin's family, via a statement, thanking the public for their support and asking for continued prayers for Damar. Steelers coach Mike Tomlin.
Man, it's a really personal thing for me, being a Pittsburgher, and that young man being a Pittsburgher. I've known that guy probably since he was about 12. Just got a lot of respect and love for him as a human being, his commitment to the pursuit of his goals and dreams of doing what it is he's doing right now, which is playing in the NFL.
Steelers coach Mike Tomlin. Stay tuned to ESPN Radio and tune into SportsCenter on ESPN TV for the latest on this NFL story.
Hi, this is Max Kellerman from Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. All of us here at ESPN Radio would like to wish you happy holidays and a happy new year.
Now from the ESPN Studios in New York City.
$1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Bank. That's bank. Enter it now.
Log on now to ESPNAVL.com. And good luck from ESPN Asheville. He's a degenerate gambler.
You are a smelly pirate hooker.
And he's cheaper than oxygen.
He's useless.
But somehow, they make it work. Jeremy Greene. Tank Spencer. There's no holding back in the Sportsocracy, presented by Ingles Supermarkets and Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville.
It is the Sportsocracy. It is ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. And, of course, we are heard everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. You can get us live or on demand. If you missed the show, the podcast posted up at the iHeart Radio app. Also available on all of your other services. But the iHeart Radio app, absolutely free. You can download it to your phone today. Take us with you everywhere you go. And, of course, you can see us every time that we are live on YouTube. Just go to thesportsocracy.com, click the live video link, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and don't forget to join us in the chat. And today, Super Chat's going to be going out to the Chasing M's Foundation, as the foundation that was set up by Damar Hamlin to benefit the kids in his hometown right outside of Pittsburgh, and trying to raise money to pay for needy kids in the area to have Christmas presents. Sounds like one of the charities that we deal with all the time, the Evelyn Charity St. Nicholas Project. In fact, they were the beneficiary of all of our Battle for the Belt donations this year. And so the Super Chats today going to go to the Chasing M's Foundation. Last night, Monday Night Football, first quarter, the game of the week between the Bills and the Bengals was interrupted in devastating fashion when, in that first quarter, Damar Hamlin was making a tackle on T. Higgins and then suffered a cardiac arrest on the field. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what all of this means. I'm not even classically trained in medical stuff. So we have to rely in these terms on somebody that has a little bit more knowledge than we do. So we bring in our chief medical correspondent for the Sportsocracy, Devin Joba. Devin, great to talk to you again, man.
Hey, good to see you guys. It's been a while since I've been on.
So last night, I don't know, I'm sure you may have been watching the game, saw what happened live. First off, before we get into the ins and outs of this thing, give everybody a sense of what your training in this area is, because had you been working, you could have been one of the people to respond to a situation like this.
So I'm a paramedic here in the state of North Carolina. I have a degree in emergency medicine, and paramedics specifically are considered cardiology specialists of the pre-hospital field. So we do a lot of advanced training, and we learn about a lot of very rare conditions that you may never see. And one of those phenomenons actually appears to be what happened to Damar Hamlin last night.
And you're referring to commotio cordis?
Yeah, commotio cordis is, so basically what it is it's caused by a blunt force trauma to the precordium, or the outer spacing of the heart in the ventricular area. Cardiac cells are very, very specific. They have very specific functions, and one of those is the ability for an individual cardiac cell to cause a contraction and then that contraction to spread across the entire heart. That's why CPR works on people who suffer sudden cardiac arrest. What can happen is if it's less than a millisecond of time while the heart's repolarizing after beating, where if another heartbeat is triggered or another electrical trigger is sent, then it can cause the heart to immediately go into a ventricular dysrhythmia, specifically ventricular tachycardia or ventricular fibrillation. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that I was not personally there. From what I saw, this is my opinion of what occurred. Of course, extensive testing is going to tell us more, but what appears to happen is when when he went in for that tackle, T's helmet went into his chest, and then he came down to the ground. It could have either been the striking of his chest while he was upright, or as they fell to the ground, him falling on top of the helmet that caused that trauma, triggering the heart to go into this dysrhythmia. It's a freak accident. It's a fluke. It's something you never see. You train about, but it's something that most people will never see in their lifetime. It does highlight the importance of having, for all level of athletics, having trained personnel at any kind of venue where physical contact sports are going to occur, and the availability of the AED. Them performing CPR on DeMar, as well as them getting to that defibrillator quickly, is what got that heartbeat back from what I'm seeing in reports, and ultimately being able to do that as quickly as it did, as seriously as they take these conditions and train for them. That's what's going to give us the best outcome for them.
Yeah, and as far as I have read about this since I saw this earlier this morning, was because I automatically jumped to, well, this had to be an unknown heart defect or something. 'Cause I immediately went to like the Hank Gather story from Loyola Marymount back in the early 90s. Of that was an underlying issue that nobody knew about, and then he had a heart attack. Cardiac arrest and heart attack are not the same thing, and I didn't know that.
No, cardiac arrest is the cessation of effective blood flow. A heart attack is caused when there's death of cardiac tissue. That could be just an occluded blood vessel causing part of the heart to not get enough oxygen to it. But sudden cardiac arrest, the leading cause of fatalities in adults, is something that there's various triggers for. In this instance, from what I saw, I would not be surprised if they came back and said that he had a perfectly healthy heart, and it was indeed just that commotio cordis of that blunt impact causing his heart to go into that dysrhythmia.
To me, that's part of the scarier thing about this is that I'm assuming, well, there has to be an underlying issue, but what I'm finding out is that that's not necessarily so. You don't have to have an underlying issue for this very rare thing to happen.
Correct. And the other thing to keep in mind is we see people in all sorts of contact sports that get hit, whether it's by a ball, whether it's in fights in the boxing world or the MMA world. People get blunt force trauma hitting them all the time. It's so rare for the right trauma to cause that pericardium to move in the exact right moment to cause this. But it is something that can happen. It's very, very, very rare, Tank.
So were you watching when this happened last night?
I was actually scrolling through and I saw a couple people posting about the Bills, and so I turned the TV on because I knew something was wrong right away.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I saw the replay, I saw him take the hit, stand up, and the way he fell back. In my head, there was no question that he was suffering from a cardiac etiology of what was going on. Of course it could have been trauma to the head or something like that. The way he reacted, I've seen patients react like that before. And I figured that was what was going on, especially once they said that there was CPR going on.
Yeah, it is an unprecedented thing. We've never seen something like this happen on an NFL game, primetime, national television, major audience like this. And I think everybody is just taken aback by this, because here you have this 24-year-old kid who, and I can call him a kid because I'm older than dirt, but you have this kid who's supposed to be in great health, and he just, it can all be over in a second. The way that the NFL doctors and the first responders were able to be on the scene immediately, I'm just hoping that's going to end up proving that is the thing that will ultimately pull DeMar through all of this, as we hope will happen.
Yeah, for sure. And in medicine, emergency medicine or sports medicine, we spend years planning for seconds of terror, and their plan came together well. And ultimately, I hope to see a great outcome from it, but I think that their system was absolutely what he needed in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Now, right now, we do not know anything other than he is sedated and in critical condition at UC Medical Center in Cincinnati. Nothing has changed as far as that. The family has come out and said, we will give you any updates as soon as we possibly can. But the reports that came out from the Buffalo Bills was that his heartbeat was restored on the field. And when I hear that, I automatically go to the things that I've heard in the past about, how long was he out? Was he without oxygen for a long time? All of these things are factors in the possible recovery of DeMar, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've come a long way, Tank, even in the past 5 to 10 years as to post-resuscitation care. I don't know their particular protocols there at UC Medical Center. However, the majority of time they're going to induce hypothermia to reduce any kind of brain swelling and make sure that they're getting effective blood flow and oxygenation to all of the organs as well as the brain to ensure that optimal outcome. And they're going to take him out of that medically induced coma in stages to be able to assess how he's doing overall.
DeMar Hamlin still, like I said, remains in the hospital. We don't know anything. They're still running tests, trying to figure out what this is. It's just an expert guess right now if it is this commotio cordis or if it is an underlying health issue. It's just something that is not known at this moment. But, I mean, I appreciate you taking out the time for us here to come on and try to explain this, because we don't know.
Yeah, it's the science behind it's pretty fascinating. But if you haven't studied the electrical conduction system of the heart, it's kind of hard to explain.
Right.
But I hope I brought a little bit of clarity to it.
Absolutely, you did. Our chief medical correspondent, Devin Joba. And by the way, you can go by and see Devin over at Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville. And thank you for hooking me up with my car.
Absolutely, brother. We'll see you guys soon.
All right. You are in the Sportsocracy here on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. So there you have it. I mean, again, he's not a doctor. He is trained in all of this. He has imparted his knowledge for you. We can't tell you any specifics on DeMar Hamlin and his specific case right now, but that's the best explanation that we can give you.
That was explaining that in a way that we couldn't, which is what we told you from the jump. We're not doctors.
Nope.
And we're not going to try to pretend to be.
No.
But if anybody could explain it, it would be that guy right there.
Absolutely. We are going to be doing what we can to help out in this time of need. Everybody is rallying around his foundation to raise money for needy kids in his hometown area just outside of Pittsburgh for the Chasing M's Foundation. So all super chats on the YouTube stream today will be going to the Chasing M's Foundation to help out. That is an organization, this is an organization that was created by him in the COVID years to help out his local neighborhood. This year they had a goal of raising $2,500. They had surpassed that. And then last night, the word got out about the Chasing M's Foundation, and thousands upon thousands of people have gone to the GoFundMe page for the Chasing M's Foundation and have now given over $4.5 million to that charity. It's absolutely unbelievable. We always talk about Buffalo Bills Mafia and how they rally around charitable causes. And here it is, the entire NFL community and fan base just wrapping their arms around DeMar as much as possible in this time. And there are going to be some very, very happy kids because of the generosity of the NFL fan base.
In that segment, Stephen Tao, Kevin Vick, and Frankie Cleary all donating to our Super Chat fund here, and none of them even had a topic. It was just thoughts and prayers with DeMar Hamlin. And we are all Bills Mafia today.
Yeah, go to the sportsocracy.com, click that live video link, subscribe to the channel. That'll get you into the chat. You can super chat as well on the YouTube stream. And again, all that going to the Chasing M's Foundation on this day where we're looking for any hope, any sign of positive news coming out of Cincinnati about the condition of Buffalo Bills safety DeMar Hamlin. You are in the Sportsocracy. We'll be right back.
Patrol reporting 240 eastbound near Monfort Avenue. A disabled vehicle, the shoulder closed, not seeing any backups or major delays in this area. 40 westbound in Haywood County is slow between NC 209 and US 276. 26 westbound slows between Long Shoals Road and the Blue Ridge Parkway. Sweeten Creek Road, moving incident-free. Hendersonville Road in the Fletcher area, southbound, is slow near the Cane Creek. I'm Lynn Benfield with your Time Saver Traffic.
This is your Time Saver Traffic on the new ESPN Asheville.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples Print and Marketing is committed to quality and printing perfect every time. Now at Staples, get $10 off your document printing and marketing materials order of $50 or more. Offer ends 2/11. See staples.com/stores/printbig for details. Try Staples and see the difference.
Hey, this is Peter Schrager from the NFL Network's morning show, Good Morning Football. You've also seen me on NFL Sidelines and in studio for Fox Sports on Sunday. Well, I've got a new podcast with iHeart in the NFL, and we're calling it The Season with Peter Schrager. In each episode of this season, I'm going to empty my proverbial notebook and take you inside and behind the scenes on the conversations that happen at the highest levels of NFL franchises. Listen to The Season with Peter Schrager on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I studied Spanish in college and never got fluent. But then I tried Babbel.
Want the most effective way to learn another language? In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's bite-sized lessons will have you learning another language in as little as 3 weeks.
Babbel gets you speaking quickly about things you actually talk about in the real world.
University studies have shown that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a semester of college Spanish. If you want to learn a new language, there's no better way than Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try Babbel for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Some people get COVID and thought, well, that wasn't such a big deal. But you can get COVID again, and next time it could be worse, especially for those 50 and older, or with a chronic condition like heart disease or diabetes. But with an updated vaccine, you have better protection from COVID's worst outcomes, and that's a big deal. Find updated COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
At Ingles, whether we're celebrating Friday night rivals, televising college basketball games, bringing the Fan Fest to semi-pro soccer, or taking you out to the ball game at your minor league park, it's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
I believe real estate isn't about properties. It's about people. I'm Clarissa Hyatt-Zach with eXp Realty, serving all of Western North Carolina. Navigating the home buying and selling journey can feel overwhelming at times, and that's why having an agent who cares about you and your needs is key. I'm a native of Western North Carolina, and I close over a home a week. I'm an expert in the market, pricing my sellers correctly to net you the most money, and working as a skilled negotiator for my buyers. Please give me a call today at 828-774-6343 to set up a complimentary market analysis.
Everyone's heard about the housing market and this being the best time to sell a house in years. But the same thing applies to cars. Whether you're looking to buy a car, trade in, or sell that car in the driveway collecting dust, Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville wants to buy your car. They have 2 on-site managers that work with Kelly Blue Book to give you top dollar for your vehicle. You can even have your car appraised instantly at AndersonNissan.com. Stop in and visit them today at 629 Brevard Road in Asheville or call them at 828-365-1663.
It is the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene, and all but the national championship game has been played in the 2022-2023 bowl season in college football. You had Penn State getting the win in the Rose Bowl over Utah yesterday. Tulane coming back, scoring in the final seconds against USC to win the Cotton Bowl Classic.
16 points in the last 4 minutes.
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And you had Mississippi State scoring 9 points in 30 seconds, which I feel like it's hard to do.
There were two historically bad beats yesterday.
Okay.
In terms of the college football.
Okay.
So Mississippi State they were catching 3.5, or they were giving 3.5 on the little fumble lateral play and take it back for 6.
Mm-hmm.
They were up 3.
Right.
So if you were on the other side, that's not good.
No, it's a bad beat.
And the over/under last night with Penn State and Utah looked like the wrong side all night long until I think there were 28 seconds left. Utah scored again to push it over.
Mm-hmm. Yikes. This is why I don't gamble.
And trust me, I fully understand that.
Right.
I was on the
I'm
right
just not
side of
doing
both of those, but it would have been less than ideal,
right,
if I hadn't been.
Right. I'm just not doing it. And I know there was another bowl game, just in case there are LSU fans out there going, we played yesterday. Yes, but you smoked
LSU, you have
63-7.
LSU, you have slightly bigger problems to worry about.
What's that?
Google it.
Google it. Was there another controversy with the coaching staff or something that I'm not aware of?
That is probably the nicest way you could possibly put it.
Interesting.
Yeah, when Brian Kelly has to come out and his diatribe about it was, no, nobody in my staff would do this. Okay, then why were 2 of them fired? 2 of them all of a sudden disappeared, and one of them said he was coming back to the player involved said he was coming back to school, and then all of a sudden he's going to the draft. It's unsubstantiated, so
okay.
But you can easily Google it. It is not hard to find.
All right, interesting. Yeah, LSU beat Purdue 63-7 yesterday in the Citrus Bowl. So I don't feel like that's really worth talking about. But Tulane coming back to beat USC. I said yesterday on this show that it's games like that. Look, I know the game doesn't matter, but it's still a premier bowl game. And it's still one of these small schools pulling the upset over a Power 5, and it goes to prove, to me at least, that it's not going to be completely horrible all the time when they're in the college football playoff.
No, I mean, they'll be fine in the playoff. Because that USC-Tulane game is absolutely something that could happen in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just as the one-off. Why do I care? I was shocked Jordan Addison played in that game. And, of course, the prevailing problem that USC had all year,
defense,
bore itself out in bowl game. You can't stop anybody.
No. And we knew that was their number one problem. We knew they could score with anybody. Does it make you think less of Lincoln Riley that they lost to Tulane?
No.
It doesn't me?
No. No, what he did in the first year at USC, and I would say it was really unpredictable, except I predictable it.
You did.
I had him in the playoff.
You did.
And I was almost right. Lincoln Riley does the portal well. He's done the portal well again this year, getting Dorian Singer out of Arizona. That offense will be dynamic again. The question is, will they be able to stop anybody? I mean, and this year, last year in the Pac-12, then you go into big boy football in the Big Ten. Do you see them as a playoff team next year?
I mean, they'll be close.
They're in the discussion.
Oh, of course.
I'm going to say something.
They'll rule the Pac-12.
I'm going to say something that's going to sound a little bizarre when I say it.
Okay.
And I believe it to the core of my being. The 4 teams that made the playoff this year, not one of them returns next year.
None of them.
Michigan very well could have a new coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Andrew Smith asked in the comments, where would they go if Harbaugh were to leave? I have absolutely no idea. I mean, Josh Gaddis was my first thought, but he went to Miami and had a really rough first year, so I think that would be a tough sell. So you could have a new coach there. TCU loses their quarterback and several draftable pieces.
Right. Quinn Johnston.
Ohio State loses their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And a weapon and a slew of other players. And then you come to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's nobody left on the defense.
Now, how many times can you expect Kirby Smart to do this?
Well,
I mean, everybody thought this team was going to take a step back last year after you lost 5 first-rounders off the defense. And
are you talking about this current year?
I'm talking about next year.
No. You said everybody thought they were going to take a step back last year.
Yeah, this year.
Okay, I was about to say nobody with an IQ above salad dressing thought they were taking a step back last year.
We're already past it.
There's still a game left, so that's why it got a little confusing to me.
Right.
They had enough talent and enough vet talent coming back. They lose a ton this year. And you've got some up-and-coming programs. I look at USC, I look at Florida State, who returns virtually everyone. I'm a fan of the program. I can think of 2 players that may not be back.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Robinson definitively won't be. Jared Verse may not be. But you've got a slew of programs like that. This last year of the 4-team playoff could be it could look very different than what you saw this year. I mean, just look at TCU. Nobody thought that was possible. And I felt like this year would be lather, rinse, repeat. To me, they took Alabama's spot. The other 3 are exactly who we thought it would be going in.
Right.
And maybe I didn't believe in Michigan. But, I mean, we thought this was a collision course for Georgia and Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's do wound up playing. It was just in the semifinals instead of the finals.
Right.
Next year, it could look very different.
It could. It very well could, but I mean, Georgia will still be at the top of the SEC. You will rinse and repeat. You will have they're just one of those programs.
I'm not as sold on
Georgia is solely in that discussion with Alabama as a team that just has so much talent that they can be competitive at the top of their conference year in and year out now.
I have a funny feeling that next year Georgia looks like Alabama this year, where you're
It's quite
very
possible.
good, you catch the 2 losses, and then you just don't make it.
That's quite possible. But after back-to-back national championships, what more could you really want?
Man, I want you to lose to TCU. Man, I want you to lose to TCU.
There will be no Stetson Bennett. So, I mean, I love Stetson Bennett.
How will he be remembered at Georgia? You're a Georgia guy.
Greatest quarterback in Georgia history. You won 2 national championships, or you won a national championship, first off, and then second off, I mean, you were a Heisman finalist. When was the last time we had one of those?
I'm not so sure that history will remember him so fondly.
Why?
Because he's not – he strikes me kind of like A.J. McCarron. You'll remember the pieces around him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure that you'll remember him. While we were at the Village Porch on Sunday, I can't remember who it was that asked me who were the quarterbacks that had won 2. Well, I got 2 right off.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the third one, and when I know what school it is.
That was Stephen Tao. Stephen Tao, he took a victory lap because he was able to stump Jeremy on a question. And I get
because
it.
I was locked in on Greg McElroy, and it was actually A.J. McCarron.
You'll never forget. You'll never forget Stetson Bennett was the guy that won you a title.
And I would say you as a Georgia fan can say that. I would say us on the periphery that do not pull for Georgia, you'll remember how dynamic that defense was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure you'll even so much as remember. You'll remember his name, but it'll be what was that quarterback? He just never did anything in the NFL. He got drafted and he didn't even make a team.
Will he get drafted?
No.
I don't think he will.
If he does, it's in the 7th round.
That's
and
what
it's
I'm
solely because quarterback is so shallow in this draft.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking.
He could have a career as a backup. It wouldn't shock me.
He's not a pro quarterback. He doesn't have outstanding skills. It's just he's a gamer. And he was able to do something that no Georgia quarterback had done in 40 years. And I can't even tell you who the quarterback of that team was because it was all about Herschel.
So that's how I think this is remembered. I think you'll remember the defense, specifically the defense from last year, because you'll have 7 I'm not going to say they're Hall of Famers, but you're going to have 7 very talented players in the NFL that come off that defense.
Right. You'll have very good ones that you can remember, and you will remember how great the defense was. But there's just something about that Stetson Bennett story. The guy that grew up a Georgia fan, went to Georgia, wasn't getting playing time, walked on to the team, then went to JUCO, then transferred back, then kind of falls in because of injuries to the starting quarterback position, and nobody really believed in it until, SEC, like 2 games before the SEC championship last year was where we all went, okay, because I think that's when I gave up. Because I was still screaming, like, why are we playing him? Why is JT Daniels not the starting quarterback of this team?
Well, after a year watching him at West Virginia, I can definitively say Kirby Smart
100%.
got that one right.
100%. But it's a story that you'll never forget. And you have Matt Stafford. He's the only one. He's the only memorable Georgia quarterback. You've got memorable players all up and down that franchise, or that school. Matthew Stafford probably will be the one quarterback that the average fan remembers went to Georgia. But I think Stetson Bennett will be number 2. Because after that, you got Eric Zier.
Aaron Murray.
Yeah, Aaron Murray. That was a good one. Jake Fromm.
Aaron Murray was that was a draft miss for me. I thought he was going to be a mid-round quarterback that wound up being a starter. That was early in my draft nerddom.
Ah, yeah. Remember when he was going to be the quarterback that finally took the Kansas City Chiefs to a Super Bowl?
I didn't say that exactly, but I came close enough.
You are in the Sportsocracy here on ESPN Asheville. We plan to touch base here with the Buffalo Bills superfan, Asheville Police Chief David Zach, to talk about the reactions from Bills Mafia about last night's tragedy on Monday Night Football.
This is your Exergen Temporal Scanner weather forecast on ESPN Asheville.
Some of the highest elevations to our west have had some 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts and showers coming in from the west tonight and Wednesday here. Mild temperatures, 58 degrees our low tonight. Morning rains Wednesday, breezy, high 66, low 40. And then sunshine Thursday, Friday, high temps in the 40s and 50s and lows near freezing in the valley. The weekend will be in the 50s. I'm meteorologist Scott Larimore. That's the latest Weather Channel forecast.
This is your time saver traffic on the new ESPN Asheville.
Traffic slowing 26 westbound between Long Shoals Road and the Blue Ridge Parkway. Future 26 westbound slowing in the Woodfin area in Haywood County. 40 westbound slow between NC 209 and US 276. On Old Airport Road near Hendersonville Road, expect delays. An accident reported. Sweeten Creek Road, north and southbound, approaching Mills Gap Road is slow. Patton Avenue southbound is stop and go, approaching I-40. I'm Lyndon Field with your Time Saver traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Save now on appliances and more at the Truckload event at Lowe's. Right now, get a 15-quart Project Source storage tote for free when you buy a 66-quart storage tote. Shop the Truckload event in-store or online today. Exclusions apply while supplies last. See Lowe's.com for details. Valid 12/29 through 1/4.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
No one has the same taste as you.
You damn right.
From the music you love to the podcasts you can't live without. And only the iHeartRadio app has it all for free. Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
Since man created roads, they've been looking for ways to get off-road and vehicles to take them there. That's where Outlaw Off-Road comes in. A premier off-road center for Jeeps, trucks, and SUVs with a complete lineup of off-road and overland services, including maintenance and repair to make your vehicle all that it can be. Check out their location right here in Western North Carolina at 85 Avery Creek Road. Call them today at 828-974-8480 or visit them on the web at theoutlawoffroad.com.
The Ingles Advantage isn't just about savings or the best quality food for your family. It's more than that. It's the advantage of being a part of a community. That's why we provide over 2 million pounds of food every year through regular donations and programs like the Ingles Giving Tree, Food for Thought, and the Ingles Fill a Backpack program. It's the right thing to do, and we know that you would do the same. Ingles, your neighbor for over 50 years.
It is the Sportsocracy. It's ESPN Asheville 92.9 FM, 880 AM and 1400. A reminder that all super chats in the YouTube today will be donated from us, the Sportsocracy family, to the Chasing M's Foundation, the foundation set up by Damar Hamlin of the Buffalo Bills, who continues to be, as far as we know, in critical condition at UC Medical Center in Cincinnati after suffering a cardiac arrest on the field on the Monday Night Football matchup last night with the Cincinnati Bengals. So go to thesportsocracy.com, click that live video link, subscribe to the channel, and you can super chat, and we will turn that money around and give it to Damar Hamlin's charity, which in the last, what's it been, 18 hours or whatever, has generated over $4 million for the charity.
It's almost 5.
Wow. I mean, it just continues to grow.
Eric Miller and Jekyll are our latest two to contribute to our donation via the super chat.
I don't know how reliable this stat is, but I saw it earlier on Twitter, and I wanted to relay it. It was somebody did the math on the number of donations, not the amount of dollars given, but the number of donations averages a donation every 0.3 seconds.
It literally broke the algorithm on GoFundMe last night. It couldn't even update. It was going so quickly.
Right. So, yes, he had to get CPR on the field. We once again want to thank our chief medical correspondent, Devin Joba, for joining us at the top of the hour to explain how he saw it and what he thinks this was all due to, the commotio cordis syndrome or instance. It's very rare. It can happen to anybody. And I think that's one of the scariest things to me, is that it doesn't have to be an underlying issue for somebody to suffer something like this. It can be a completely healthy 24-year-old NFL football player who gets hit in the wrong place at the wrong time, and heart can stop, snap of the fingers. But thanks to the NFL first responders who were on the sidelines, who were there in a number of heartbeats, to be there to give CPR, to restore his heartbeat on the field and get him medical attention as quickly as possible. And we all, first and foremost today, no matter what we're talking about, we want everybody to know that that is where our minds are today, first and foremost, is on his health.
Yeah, if you missed the beginning of the show, it's not that we're trying to turn the page or anything like that. We're escapism radio.
We just don't know what to say.
And I like I said, when I talked to Devin this morning, you know what happened infinitely better than I do. And I can tell you, you want to know what we saw? We saw exactly what you did. Two people that we both played sports in different levels and different time frames, but we saw what you did, which was this is the fear. And this was, as I said earlier, not even something that I'd ever thought of. Like Devin said, it happens to MMA fighters more than it happens to anybody. That's the only reason I'd even heard the term is from my time doing that. And it had never even crossed my mind. And so we're just doing the best that we can. And that's really the only way to say it, which is why we open this up for your super chats to steer the conversation. And that's what we have tried to do over the course of the first hour and a half of this show today.
Right. As mentioned in the last segment, the college football bowl season, it's all but over. We got the national championship game coming up next Monday night.
That is Monday, right?
Yes, it is Monday night.
I had to make sure. So, programming note, I will not be here Friday or Monday. Amy and I are we're taking a post-New Year's escape to Miami.
Yes, going to Miami so he can boo Mike LaFleur.
That's really all I'm going to do.
As his New York Jets take on the Miami Dolphins this week. But yeah, we've only got one game left to play, and when it comes to next year, I don't expect Alabama and Georgia to be any different than they were this year. They'll be right in the hunt. They'll be right at the top of their respective divisions.
Alabama's going to have an issue at quarterback.
Who's sitting behind Bryce Young? Do they have that guy? Do they have a guy that's highly recruited right behind him?
No, they have the kid that filled in for him in the game that he couldn't play. That he's a very talented runner, but just not a great thrower of the football.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons that a lot of people speculated that they might have been one of the teams on Drake May. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that was what was out there.
He originally did commit to Alabama.
He did.
And then decided that he was going to go follow in daddy and mommy's footsteps and brother's footsteps and go to Carolina. Now, it's just I expect it now. And maybe that's a bad place for Kirby Smart to be. But now you expect it. You've been in the college football playoff. Actually, you've been in the national championship game. What is this, 3 out of the last 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's going to be expected. And honestly, the way they recruit and the way Kirby coaches, I mean, they're always going to be in the hunt because they've got the money to be. I get everybody, all the naysayers about NIL and this free agency of college football. It's got its downsides, but if you're a fan of a major team, you've got a chance. You've got a chance every year as long as you've got the coach, which we believe Kirby Smart is, national championship head coach, getting ready to play for another national championship.
Well, I saw Andrew Smith commented this. A team to keep an eye on for next year, and you're going to tell me, how many times do we have to fall for this? It's Notre Dame.
Yeah, maybe. Sam Hartman taking over at quarterback. They've got the actual quarterback now.
Sam Hartman would be the best quarterback they've had since Brady Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know that's all that close.
No doubt. That's one of those I got to believe it. I got to see it to believe it kind of things, though.
Devin Leary in Kentucky, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a talented team that's not losing a ton. I mean, yeah, you're losing Will Levis, but from a collegiate standpoint, I don't know there's a huge drop-off to Devin Leary.
Yeah.
I could actually
I
can make the argument.
Speaking of NC State, you see who they're on they're trying to get Brendan Armstrong to come in from Virginia. That could work out in their favor. Brendan was a thing before this last year, and he didn't have an offensive line. Maybe they can do that. Coming up now, we're going to take a quick break, and then after the break, we will talk to our Buffalo Bills Mafia member himself, the chief of police of Asheville, to talk about the Damar Hamlin situation and what Bills Mafia is feeling today.
This is your time saver traffic on the new ESPN Asheville.
Driving slow, 26 westbound between Long Shoals Road and Blue Ridge Parkway. Future 26 westbound slows between Woodfin and Weaverville. In Haywood County, 40 westbound slow between NC 209 and US 276. Merriman Avenue northbound near Edgewood Road seeing delays. Sweeten Creek Road southbound approaching Mills Gap Road is slow. Hendersonville Road moving problem-free. Smoky Park Highway, no backups. Patton Avenue southbound is slow between Old Haywood Road and I-40. I'm Lyndon Field with your Time Saver Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Save now on appliances and more at the Truckload event at Lowe's. Right now, get a 15-quart Project Source storage tote for free when you buy a 66-quart storage tote. Shop the Truckload event in-store or online today. Exclusions apply while supplies last. See Lowe's.com for details. Valid 12/29 through 1/4.
Over 50,000 police officers are assaulted each year. Help police by not escalating. Address any complaints after the encounter. Comply now. Complain later. Keep everybody safe. This message brought to you by the National Police Association. Learn more at nationalpolice.org.
The music we listen to all year long. The anthems that were our soundtrack for 2022. And the stars who made the songs we love will all be celebrated March 27th, live from Los Angeles.
Let's get it started.
Get ready for our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Awards. Coming back to Fox.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you like burritos, which you do because everyone does, you should try Taco Bell's Chipotle Ranch and Salsa Verde grilled chicken burritos. These masterpieces start with a warm flour tortilla that we stuff with grilled chicken. But the real stars here are the bold sauces, Chipotle Ranch or Salsa Verde. In fact, the chicken is the stage upon which these sauces shine. Like this mic is a stage for me to spotlight my theatrical range. 2 chicken burritos, 2 bold flavors, $2 each. Order on the Taco Bell app. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only. Contact local store for prices, hours, and participation which vary. Tax extra while supplies last.
If cleanliness is next to godliness, look around the car right now. Is that very godly? Look, life comes at you fast, but so does WBNC Auto Detailing. They have the tools to make your interior look like it's coming off the showroom floor. You don't believe me? Check them out on Instagram. All that filth and years of stains disappear. WBNC Auto Detailing does full interior and exterior details with paint correction, and they do wax and ceramic coatings. Call WBNC Auto Detailing at 455-3700. Premium care with a Southern hospitality touch.
Everyone's heard about the housing market and this being the best time to sell a house in years. But the same thing applies to cars. Whether you're looking to buy a car, trade in, or sell that car in the driveway collecting dust, Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville wants to buy your car. They have 2 on-site managers that work with Kelly Blue Book to give you top dollar for your vehicle. You can even have your car appraised instantly at AndersonNissan.com. Stop in and visit them today at 629 Brevard Road in Asheville or call them at 828-365-1663.
This is the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400 last night on Monday Night Football. Something that, well, none of us had ever experienced before. A player receiving CPR on the field in the first quarter of a game is not something that we're used to. It has been a shock to the system, a shock to the NFL fan base, regardless of who your team is. And today, I feel secure in saying that we are all part of Bills Mafia. And we go to our resident Bills Mafia member. Do they have an individual name for you guys, Asheville Police Chief David Zach? Is there like are you a Mafia member, or are you like is there some individual membership card you have?
No, there is not. You are in the Mafia. You are just a piece of the puzzle, and we are all equal in Bills Mafia.
All right. With what happened to Damar Hamlin last night and the shockwaves that it has sent across the NFL, and I just saw this tweet come down from Ian Rappaport where, out of respect for the Bills and Damar Hamlin, tonight the Pro Football Hall of Fame has decided to put off their announcement of the 15 modern era finalists for the Hall of Fame for this upcoming year. It was supposed to be a special tonight at 8 o'clock where they were going to announce all of that. Everything is on hold right now in the NFL, hoping and praying that Damar Hamlin makes a quick recovery.
Absolutely. I think that's a great decision by the league. I think at this point, this is all beyond the game at this point, and everybody's attention is just focusing on Damar.
What is what has been your experience with this and your discussions with your fellow Mafia members about what's taking place?
I think just like everybody else, everybody felt the same way, whether you're a Bills fan or not. You were just shocked at what you saw. And, as they played the replay, you knew something was immediately very, very seriously wrong just by, the way he popped up and then fell. It was almost like, watching like a boxer, who was out on their feet before they hit the ground. And, the first thing personally that I thought of was like, did he just have an aneurysm or something similar? But you knew it was something seriously, seriously wrong. And, whether you're a Bills fan or not, to watch that, you're just shocked. But when kind of it's a member of a team that you root for and you're kind of a little bit more familiar with the players, you know who they are, you follow them on their social media, it does hit a little bit closer to home. But I think everybody kind of felt the same way. They were just completely shocked and numb to what was happening.
And you hate to see it happen to anybody, but
right.
I mean, especially a story like this kid who, could have been a higher profile college football player. He could have gone to a bigger school, but he decided to stay at Pittsburgh because it was close to home. He wanted to be around at the time when he was going into college. He had a 6-year-old little brother, and he said the only reason that he wanted to go back to Pitt or to go to Pitt was to stay in the neighborhood, to be there, to be the father figure, the man in this young kid's life, something that he didn't have when he was growing up. Obviously, we've talked about all day the outpouring of support for the Chasing M's Foundation, the foundation that he set up to help kids in that area. Obviously, Bills Mafia is a big driver in that. We always talk about how giving Bills Mafia is.
Yeah, it's kind of a special thing with Bills Mafia. You saw it when Lamar Jackson was hurt. You saw it when other players were hurt. That Bills Mafia comes pouring out. But it's nice to see. This is not just Bills Mafia. This is just human beings who saw something tragic and saw something horrible, and everybody wants to do something, and it kind of reinforces your belief in the goodness of people. So it's been, I think, what are they up over 4 million now? Last I checked, and it's just a great outpouring of support, and again, kind of restores your faith in humanity a little bit.
Yeah, it's almost up to $5 million now for the Chasing M's Foundation as people continue to give to that GoFundMe campaign. And but yeah, I mean, Damar Hamlin comes in as this, what was he, a 7th round pick in the draft.
Yep.
Not really expected to be a huge contributor, but then Micah Hyde gets hurt, and he's done for the season, and now this kid comes in, and now he's number 2 on the team in tackles, having a breakout year. People are starting to learn his name, and now it's a name that none of us will ever forget.
Oh, yeah, without question. And, he came in pretty obscure. I wasn't even sure he was going to make the team this year, but he just performed so well. And now, again, stepping in for Hyde, he's become just such an important part of the team. But again, that aside, it's not about football; it's just about Damar at this point. But yeah, his story is really interesting, and by all accounts, just an outstanding teammate and just a great person. And you just hate to see something like this happen. But certainly the kind of the news we're hearing is a little bit more encouraging than how things started playing out early last night, where it looked very, very grave at the time.
Right. Some of the reports that we have seen is that he was. Alert's not the right word, but he was conscious when they got to the hospital, and he was, he did have to be on oxygen and all of that to keep him going, but he was at least, I guess, with it when they got to the hospital, and then they had to sedate him, and he's been held in a critical state since then. We just don't have any updates to give any beyond that, other than he is still in critical condition, and we're just waiting for the news from his family, and of course everyone hoping that we're going to get some positive news that it was an isolated incident and he can move on and have a full life after this. I don't think.
I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, Tank. No, I mean, I was watching the broadcast last night, and when they went back to the studio in New York, and Schefter, Susie Colbert and I think it was Booger were there, and they were talking, and you could see Schefter looking down at his cell phone, and everybody knows who follows the game that Schefter is like the ultimate insider.
Right.
And you could just kind of see the expression on his face as he's looking down at that phone, and you're wondering, what is that text? And it can't be good. And, that was the one thing going on in my mind, and I was going back and forth with my family and, with Clarissa, and I just kept saying, this is not good at all. This is going to be very, very serious. And, of course, we would learn, that it was.
Yeah, it is hard to think about football when one of your players and any player is dealing with the kind of incident that we saw DeMar deal with last night. But at some point, you do have to make plans for the future. And the NFL announcing today that this game will not be resumed this week. And we don't know if it's going to be resumed at all. As a Buffalo Bills fan, do you have any wishes as to how that goes? Because earlier in the program I said maybe they should just wait and see how next week goes.
Yeah, I kind of think, I actually, the league has taken some criticism, which I don't necessarily feel is completely warranted. I mean, this was like an unprecedented situation, and certainly in my profession, and especially my time here in Asheville, I've dealt with unprecedented situations, and it does take time to process. But I think the league is doing the right thing, really keeping the focus on DeMar Hamlin. So I'm glad to see that. Much past that, it's really hard to think about. And I guess we can start thinking about football again, once we know DeMar's status.
Right.
I think that's really, and if you're a Bills fan or just anybody in general, I think it's just the game's got to be put aside. The league will go on. They will play on Sunday. But, as far as I'm concerned, it's just I want to know the kid's okay, or at least know, where he's at and if progress is being made. And again, I was up all night. I stayed up even when they said, they weren't going to release any more information. I was up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I was up every hour, checking the websites and the news to see if there had been any change in his status. So, it's just, hey, when they play again, they play again. But I think like most people, it's just, you hope the kid's okay. But yeah, the season will go on. The games will go on. We'll worry about it after that. We just want to see that, know where DeMar Hamlin is at and just praying for his recovery.
We all feel the same way. Asheville Police Chief David Zach, thank you for joining us. We got to take a break. Sports Center update at the top of the hour, and we'll have you back on later this week, hopefully, to make some picks for the upcoming week when we can all think about football a little bit more clearly. It is the Sportsocracy here on ESPN Asheville.
This is your Exergen Temporal Scanner weather forecast on ESPN Asheville.
Some of the highest elevations to our west have had some 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts and showers coming in from the west tonight and Wednesday here. Mild temperatures, 58 degrees, our low tonight. Morning rains Wednesday, breezy, high 66, low 40. And then sunshine Thursday, Friday, high temps in the 40s and 50s, and lows near freezing in the valley. The weekend will be in the 50s.
I'm meteorologist Scott Larimore. That's the latest Weather Channel forecast.
This report is sponsored by Pfizer. When temperatures drop, COVID-19 cases may rise. So if you test positive and are at high risk, act fast. Even if your symptoms feel mild, ask your provider if an authorized oral treatment could be right for you. Visit treatcovid19.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Taco Bell has $2 grilled chicken burritos that come in 2 bold flavors, Chipotle Ranch and Salsa Verde. They're bursting with grilled chicken and delicious sauces. Get your $2 grilled chicken burrito at participating Taco Bell stores for a limited time only, while supplies last. Price and participation vary. Tax extra.
From the Ingles Studios, this is ESPN Asheville, WPEK, W225CJ Fairview, WMXF Waynesville, and iHeart radio station.
I'm Christine Lisi. The NFL has released a statement saying it continues to be in contact with the medical team in Cincinnati caring for Bills safety Damar Hamlin, who remains in critical condition after suffering cardiac arrest following a hit in the first quarter against the Bengals on Monday Night Football. The suspended game will not be resumed this week. Hamlin's family released a statement thanking the public for their support, the Bills and Bengals, as well as first responders and medical professionals. Many should be lauded for their response, believes our Chris Canty.
It is tremendous the work that the athletic trainers did, the medical staff did, in getting to Damar Hamlin on the field. I thought that the players were aware in that situation, creating a human shield so cameras couldn't see what was going on and giving Damar that privacy in that moment where his life is in the balance. And then, getting him off the field into the ambulance and to the hospital.
Canty and Carlin co-host Chris Canty. Hamlin's GoFundMe page, Chasing M's, which raises money online to buy toys for kids in need, has over $4 million in donations as of today. His original goal was $2,500. A reminder to stay tuned to ESPN Radio and Sports Center on ESPN TV for the latest on this NFL developing story.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Bank. That's bank. Enter it now.
Log on now to ESPNAVL.com. And good luck from ESPN Asheville.
He's a degenerate gambler.
You are a smelly pirate hooker.
And he's cheaper than oxygen.
He's useless.
But somehow, they make it work. Jeremy Greene, Tank Spencer. There's no holding back in the Sportsocracy. Presented by Ingles Supermarkets and Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville.
We are the Sportsocracy, and it's ESPN Asheville 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. The Sportsocracy, of course, always comes to you live from the Ingles Studio. We can be seen everywhere you go on YouTube, heard everywhere you go on the iHeartRadio app. Go to thesportsocracy.com. Click on the live video link. Subscribe to the channel. Today, more important than any other, because today, Super Chats all going to the Chasing M's Foundation set up by Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin, who we continue to just have a top of mind hearts and thoughts and prayers and all that stuff to Damar and his family, hoping for good news to come out of UC Medical Center in Cincinnati after he collapsed on the field with a cardiac arrest last night in the first quarter of the Monday Night Football game that we all were anticipating. It's a battle for the number one seed in the AFC playoffs. Now, it's hard to think about anything other than Damar's health.
I think Asheville Police Chief David Zach said it exactly right. We can focus on what happens next once we hear that he's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at. And if you're just joining us, we know 5 o'clock is a very common time for people to get off work, get back in their car. We have discussed other things today. We've discussed Damar Hamlin a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we just feel like we brought in Devin, our chief medical correspondent, Chief Zach, our resident Bills fan. Their opinions and their takes they mean more than ours.
Absolutely.
There are certain things that, look, I would wager that everybody's figured out I'm not a lifelong radio guy like Tank is. I was a comedian. Well, today's not really a day for jokes. So that means it's not really a day for my takes on things.
Right.
So read the room.
Yeah, look, you can have a take on other things, but there is no spicy take to have on a dire situation like this in the NFL. Alex Majabi joined us in the YouTube chat just a little while ago and was asking, had something like this ever happened in the NFL before? Well, not in the modern era, not in the era that we know the NFL today. Today, the NFL is the biggest thing going in sports. It is the number one. Somebody, was it Brian Hall last week, sent us the graphic of the Christmas games that the NFL Christmas games, all of the NBA games that were shown on Christmas, they combined didn't have the audience of the crappiest Christmas Day NFL game.
All 5 combined didn't equal what the viewership of the Rams and the Broncos.
There you go.
So you have this in the isolated game. The only thing I could compare it to is Dennis Byrd.
Yes. And that's the closest in the modern era. And when I say modern era, I don't mean to, make everyone who's older than me feel completely ancient, but there's only been one time in the NFL that we've had a player that died after collapsing on the field, and it was in 1971. Chuck Hughes was 28 years old of the Detroit Lions. They were playing the Chicago Bears, and he goes toward the huddle, clutches his chest, collapses. They take him off in an ambulance, and nobody knew anything, and they didn't even stop the game. They kept playing. The game went to fruition, and before the game was even over, they got the message that Chuck had died from his heart attack. Apparently, it turned out that he had a family history of heart disease that they didn't know about. I mean, they didn't have the medical advances that we do to be able to identify things like that back then. So, I mean, yes, this has happened, but never to this scale. Never on a national broadcast that everyone and their brother was watching because it was such a pivotal game.
And our tact in this has been, we can't give you 3 hours of opinion on this.
No.
So some people will probably think that our tact of we have discussed other things. We hope you don't find it to be crass. It was something we met about before the show, and we determined that we were going to donate the Super Chats to Damar Hamlin's charity, and we would let you guys shape the conversation. Well, here's what we've discovered. You guys just want to contribute to the charity, and it doesn't really seem to matter what we talk about.
No.
And that's – I'm not going to lie, there was a thought in my head that that's how that was going to go, of that you, the wonderful people that listen to the show, just want to help. And you come here for escapism 3 hours a day. And we had Patrick Holt and Stephen Tao, all these guys at the Village Porch with us on Sunday. And that's all I could think about was those guys were so committed to we've missed having the show and just being able to escape from reality for a few hours. Well, if there was ever a day that you needed that, it would be today.
Yeah.
So,
and
trying to walk the tightrope, we hope we are. There's not really a manual for this.
Right. And this is a situation that you can never escape from. We're all like I said with Chief Zach. Hardly anybody who's not a Buffalo Bills fan or maybe an NBA draft scout nerd like at ESPN Draft Nerd over there knew really who Damar Hamlin was before last night.
I knew him quite well. He was a kid that, I liked the tape coming out. Mm-hmm. I did a lot. I actually, so it's ironic that Chief Zach said what he said because it was exactly how my night went. Amy and I were sitting on the couch.
About staying up all night?
It just overtook Amy, and she went, I have to go to bed. Mm-hmm. She put her headphones on, put on an audiobook, and she went to sleep. Well, I couldn't go to sleep. I've thought about a wide array of things that happened over my time, whether it was as a player, as a coach, or even just as a fan. And this took me back to Dennis Byrd. And I was doing the same thing Chief Zach was. Mm-hmm. I know you've said you're not putting out information, but what if you do? And the minute I woke up, that was the first thing that I did because I was in the same boat. It was 3:30, 4 o'clock before I finally went to sleep.
Right.
And this is an unprecedented thing. And I'm going to say something, and this may upset some people. How people react to these things is there are some that just have bad takes. You got to understand something. We spend our lives in this sport, and that's our job, is to cover this sport for you. And I'm not defending Skip Bayless under any stretch of the imagination. It was in very poor taste to tweet out that this game can't stop and what are we going to do with this game? Skip, nobody cares right now. And you take the track record and all the things, that's where I struggle to give him the benefit of the doubt. If you were following my Twitter last night, I said some things about Skip that I'm not 24 hours later. I didn't say I wasn't proud of it. I didn't say I didn't mean it. 24-hour view, that wasn't really helping anything. And that's finally what I said was, at this point, the team you pull for, your fantasy football team, the standings, this game, none of that matters. And that was my blanket statement, and I finally went, I'm shutting off Twitter for the night, except to look for notifications.
Right.
So I'm not going to say anything else.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a time and a place to talk about things like that. I feel like we talked about it in the 3 o'clock hour. What's going to happen with this game? But we only felt like we could do that after the NFL made their statement that said we're not going to do this week. Best I could tell or best I can guess is that they will wait until after next week to figure out what they're going to do with the game.
That's the only thing I can figure out. Patrick Holt in the comments said if the NFL truly tried to make him resume this game, then Goodell should be removed immediately. And I have to comment on that. Roger Goodell was not in the stadium, so he is beholden to the information he's getting. Think of how you looked at this. So you watched this and you knew, okay, there's something different about this than anything I've ever seen. But you didn't really know until, okay, we've gone to 4 commercial breaks here. Something's definitely up.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get the sideline reporter that is there that comments on Twitter. Roger Goodell, I'm going to wager, was not on Twitter. I'm going to wager he was on the phone with somebody that was in that building. And you've never done this before. I'm not trying to defend Roger Goodell. I'm really not. I'm just saying from a contrarian point of view, you got to understand that he's the one that protects the shield. And so he's looking at this going, I don't know what to do. And in the moment, probably wishes he could do some things over again. And that's why Zach Taylor last night earned a level of respect from me last night that very few coaches will ever see. Because I don't know if you saw the huddle between him and Sean McDermott. I can't read lips, but I feel like I got about 75% of that conversation. And it was basically Zach Taylor looking at Sean McDermott saying, we're going to do what you want to do.
Right.
I don't have an opinion in this at this point. This is your team. This is your brother. This is your guy. And so you make this call. And as soon as he said it, Sean McDermott looked at the entire team and said, to the locker room we go.
Yep.
And that was the right call. I don't care who made it. I don't care if it's Roger Goodell. I don't care if it's Troy Vincent. I don't care about any of that.
Mm-hmm.
The right decision was made.
Absolutely.
So for me, that's the end of that discussion.
Right. You saw the look on Josh Allen's face last night. Stephon Diggs, Tre'Davious White just absolutely losing his mind. And you can understand. I mean, this is a guy that they have fought, sweated, and bled with for the last 2 years on this football team. I don't care, what I was heading to with my opening statement of most of us didn't even know who this kid was before last night, but it's now a name that you're never going to forget. This is now a benchmark moment in the NFL history. Where were you when Damar Hamlin collapsed on Monday Night Football? Regardless of how this comes out, this is always going to be one of those moments. Like, where were you when John Casey kicked the ball out of bounds during the Super Bowl? Or where were you when the lights went out during the San Francisco 49ers Baltimore Ravens game? I mean, this is now a benchmark moment in NFL history. It's a sad situation. I wish I had more information to give you, but we're in the same boat as everybody else right now. Even those in the know don't have all of the answers as far as we're being told. All we know is that Damar Hamlin is fighting for his life. There are doctors fighting for his life right now at UC Medical Center in critical condition, and we will bring you the latest when we possibly can on this situation. I don't know when they're going to be able to do the game. I don't know if they're going to do the game. And right now, I honestly don't care. I really don't. I really don't care.
No, that's the reason we said what we said.
Yeah.
You push it for a week. We showed in the COVID year, you can make things happen. Don't tell, and maybe that's just my personality of don't tell me that, don't tell me it can't be done.
Yeah.
Because it can.
Oh, and
it
100%
will. Can.
And it will be.
As a society, we're very malleable.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the show, I have usually we call it a mad. It's been called a rant. It's been called a lot of things. I just have something I want to say on the way out.
Okay. All right. We'll get to that at the end of the program today. And like I said, any updates that we can give you, we absolutely will before this whole thing is wrapped up for the day. We got about 45 minutes left in the program. Take a quick break.
Get those super chats in. Any topics you'd like to discussed, we are donating those to DeMar Hamlin's charity.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just kind of following your lead today.
You are in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville.
This is your time saver traffic on the new ESPN Asheville.
Traffic slowing 240 westbound between Charlotte Street and Montford Avenue. 26 westbound slowing approaching Long Shoals Road to the Blue Ridge Parkway. Future 26 westbound delays between Broadway Street to west of Elk Mountain Road. Haywood County 40 westbound is stop and go between NC 209 and US 276. Patton Avenue southbound crawling between North Bear Creek Road and I-40. Merriman Avenue northbound is slow approaching Edgewood Road. I'm Lee Benfield with your time saver traffic.
This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance flexes to fit your business needs, from quick repairs to adjustable coverages and even payment options. Progressive Commercial makes it easy to get what you need. Quote today in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
63 Americans a day die by gun suicide. By storing our guns safely, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo, we can give our loved ones a second chance at life. Learn more at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
Sports leagues are chock full of winners and losers.
Correct.
And I'm happy to call myself a loser because in a year I've lost more than 90 pounds with the PhD weight loss program. It was last Thanksgiving week that met with Dr. Ashley Lucas. She told us this is the program to see great results. And she was not lying. More than 90 pounds down, I feel like a brand new Tank Spencer.
I did not have 90 pounds to lose, but I had gotten a little chunky. My food decisions had become very lazy, and I was causing some problems. I wasn't sleeping well. My knees hurt. Just over a year on this program, I'm back to my high school weight, sleeping like a baby, and everything's back to hunky-dunky, and it's all thanks to the plan and program of PhD Weight Loss.
It's the easiest program I've ever been on. They give you 80% of the food you need to have success, and you will just be amazed. I am proof positive that it can change your life and help you win that battle with your weight once and for all. Go to myphdweightloss.com. It's myphdweightloss.com.
Everyone's heard about the housing market and this being the best time to sell a house in years. But the same thing applies to cars. Whether you're looking to buy a car, trade in, or sell that car in the driveway collecting dust, Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville wants to buy your car. They have 2 on-site managers that work with Kelly Blue Book to give you top dollar for your vehicle. You can even have your car appraised instantly at AndersonNissan.com. Stop in and visit them today at 629 Brevard Road in Asheville or call them at 828-365-1663.
Welcome back into the Ingles Studio on ESPN Asheville. This is the Sportsocracy, and don't forget, yes, your Super Chats today going to be donated to the Chasing M's Foundation set up by DeMar Hamlin, so go to the YouTube page. Do your Super Chats. You want us to talk about a topic here for the next or over the next 35 minutes of the program? We'll absolutely get into it. Jeremy's got a nice little trip planned this weekend.
I do. My wife, in her very sweet, loving way, she thought that the Jets were going to beat the Seattle Seahawks and that we would be playing for a playoff berth. Instead, it's going to be a trip to Miami, which is a city I love, to boo Mike LaFleur, which is what I plan on doing. Just not because I want him fired. Just I need you to be better. Just be better.
So you're going to show up to do that thing that you criticize other fans for showing up to do.
I can't say that. I can't say that's the only reason I'm showing up.
It's the stupidest thing you've ever heard of.
No, I've been asked, why am I still going if the Jets can't play, or if the Jets can't make the playoffs? This is a team that's hit an emotional heartstring. This has been just a bizarre year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you feel that way or not. And I'm not even necessarily talking about just individually what happened last night. I'm just talking about the entire year. And I'm watching Tua. And we were not on the air last week, so we didn't have the ability to discuss this. This kid's had 3 concussions in a year. And Mike McDaniel came out yesterday and basically said that Tua was not even on the table to play. And that's the right call.
Mm-hmm.
That's the right call. I don't care about your playoff chances. I don't care about anything. That kid needs to be cleared by a slew of doctors before he ever touches a football field ever again.
Absolutely. I mean, he's in the concussion protocol again. Remember the fiasco that we had earlier this season with Tua. And it comes to a point where, and I think this thing with Damar Hamlin is only going to make this even bigger. I mean, with things like last night, if it does end up being this commotio cordis thing that can't be prevented, then, you know, that's just, again, an unpreventable freak thing is exactly as it says. You can't prevent that. There's no rule that we can make. But I think it's going to shine a light on all this other stuff, and especially with the concussion issue with Tua and with the Miami Dolphins. You really need to start treating this thing with the absolute kindest gloves that you possibly can, because we've seen over the years guys who just go, I've had enough. Luke Kuechly comes to mind. All-time greatest linebacker ever to play this game. No doubt in my mind.
Oh, I'm not going that far.
You don't think so?
Ray Lewis. In the message, repeat the line.
No. I'm not saying he's the greatest.
That's what you said.
He's an all-timer. He is all-time one of the greatest. I didn't mean to say he's the greatest of all time. He is one of the greatest. And there's no question that if he'd have had 15, 16 years to play in this league, he would have been in that discussion of top 2, top 3 linebackers of all time. Him, Ray Lewis, Lawrence Taylor. That's as far as I can go.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But he had concussion after concussion after concussion, and finally you get to a point where you go, I can't do this anymore. And I think Tua is quickly getting to that point.
He's almost definitively had 3 in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I have to – a lot of people have one of the things that irks me is there are certain things in this sport and in sport on the whole that are just not avoidable. Concussions are not avoidable. You can protect yourself. You can make smart decisions. But one of the things, and this kind of gets into how I'm going to end the show, we always want to put a blame on something.
Mm-hmm.
Some things don't have a blame. Some things don't have well, this is what we could have done to avoid it. I mean, if you want to go to the net cause of what we could do to avoid these things, then you stop playing the sport.
Right.
That's it. I played basketball for 15 years. I got hurt more doing that than I did fighting. Is that empirical evidence? No. I'm a traditionally heavy-set kind of guy, and my knees took a beating jumping.
Mm-hmm.
That's not empirical evidence. That's not a cause. It's not an anything like that. Sometimes things just happen, and they're wildly unfortunate. They're very sad. And I look at somebody like Tua, and I heard a lot of this in the week that we were off. Of he doesn't know how to fall. He doesn't know how to, or maybe he's just more susceptible to this. I don't know why we have to get into deeper meanings of things.
Because we want answers. I mean, I've found this in not just football discussions, but just life discussions. We want answers. We as a people, we have to have that boogeyman, that thing to blame. It doesn't have to be a specific person. It just has to be something that we can point to and go, that's the reason this happened, and we can change it. You can't change everything.
No.
There are some things that cannot be changed.
No, at the end of the day, this is a sport where you're asking grown men who are the greatest athletes in the world to put on polyurethane helmets and run into each other at full speed.
Mm-hmm. And they know the dangers. Now they do. Now they do, because they didn't for a long time. I mean, there was a major lawsuit about that. But, I mean...
You got empirical evidence.
Yeah, but now you know.
Nobody that's ever put on a helmet didn't know that there weren't risks.
Right.
And that's one of those that you look for the net cause, and sometimes there's just not a net cause. Some people have you ever had a concussion in your life?
No.
I've had 4. Not necessarily because I did a lot of things that were, I had one of them around my house, just walking around. And I spent years letting people kick me in the face as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many concussions I got doing that?
How many?
0.
Wow.
Yeah, 0. That I know of. And after you've had one, you pretty much know. But that's where I was headed with Tua, is a lot of people have wanted to rail on the Dolphins doctors. If you took any of these incidents as a one-off, all right, the one with the back, that was a bad look. The more I've thought about that, the more that was just a horrible look. You can't say that that was a back injury. It was very obvious that something happened with the head there.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, I don't actually know that there's anything empirically that says he was at a greater risk in that Cincinnati game. I don't know. I can tell you I've seen doctors that say that he wasn't. Once he was cleared, I mean, once the brain is bruised, then you're at that greater risk. You always will be. And then it happens again. And there was a lot of railing on Miami for, well, how did you not know? He didn't know. He said that. He self-reported this to the doctors he woke up the next day, didn't feel right, and he told them something's up. And that's when they tested him. And that's when they figured out he had a concussion.
Mm-hmm.
You can't always go back to the doctors and go, what did you do wrong? We live in a cancel culture society that wants to cancel every person that says something you don't agree with.
Right.
That's not a sustainable way of life. These doctors are trying to protect these players. And not always did somebody do something wrong. Sometimes bad things just happen.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you go on social media and you will see everybody trying to find the person to blame, the entity to blame. Oh, the NFL doesn't care about its players. No, they do.
Very much do.
Yeah. Roger Goodell doesn't care about player safety. I guarantee you he does.
It's probably the thing that keeps him awake at night and wakes him up in the morning.
Exactly. There's a risk to this game. And the players know the risks. They know what they're getting into. And this is why they're paid handsomely. You get those people who, these just overpaid athletes. Well, does this give you a little bit more appreciation? For the Dominique Foxworth on ESPN, I don't know if it was last night or early this morning, but I heard the tape of him talking about the next time this comes up in CBA talks and y'all start, the players want too much, finger, DeMar. That's all you got to do. At any moment, that could happen to any of us.
When people have said that to me over the years, I've always just rolled my eyes and kind of gone on. From here on out, I will not be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
As I said in the first hour, it will elicit a visceral response, and it will elicit it every single time.
Mm-hmm. Do they make a lot of money? Sure, but not all of them, because that was another part. That was another part of this. Dominique was talking about DeMar specifically. He signed a 4-year contract for $3.5 million. That's not the money that Ezekiel Elliott's making or any of these top earners in the league. I mean, yes, that's life-changing money to the average person, but to the NFL football player, he's the low man on the totem pole there when it comes to money and being able to live and provide and all of those things. Yet something devastating like this can happen to him. So just think about that next time this discussion comes up of, oh, these players just want way too much money. Is the money there? Do they generate the kind of money to justify those salaries? Absolutely they do. And I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. After what happened last night, regardless of how this comes out, and we all hope that this is going to be just a brief memory. But we don't know that. We don't know how this is going to turn out. We all send our best thoughts and prayers out to Damar Hamlin and his family as he continues to fight for his life at UC Medical Center. Still, the last report we've had, he's in critical condition. He is sedated, and the doctors are working for the best outcome possible. But don't give me this. There's no reason for them to put their lives on the line every week. They know they're doing it. And whatever they can make out of it, that's their business.
This is your Exergen Temporal Scanner weather forecast on ESPN Asheville.
Some of the highest elevations to our west have had some 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts and showers coming in from the west tonight and Wednesday here. Mild temperatures, 58 degrees, our low tonight. Morning rains Wednesday, breezy, high 66, low 40. And then sunshine Thursday, Friday, high temps in the 40s and 50s, and lows near freezing in the valley. The weekend will be in the 50s.
I'm meteorologist Scott Larimore. That's the latest Weather Channel forecast.
This is your time saver traffic on the new ESPN Asheville.
Traffic slowing 240 westbound between Charlotte Street and Montford Avenue. 26 westbound slowing approaching Long Shoals Road to the Blue Ridge Parkway. Future 26 westbound delays between Broadway Street to west of Elk Mountain Road. Haywood County 40 westbound is stop and go between NC 209 and US 276. Patton Avenue southbound crawling between North Bear Creek Road and I-40. Merriman Avenue northbound is slow approaching Edgewood Road. I'm Lyndon Fuel with your Time Saver Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
Of course, your favorite station is on the free iHeartRadio app. Take us with you anywhere and listen anytime. Plus, get thousands of other stations and playlists all free. Download our free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
iHeartRadio. Hey, this is Peter Schrager from the NFL Network's morning show, Good Morning Football. You've also seen me on NFL Sidelines and in studio for Fox Sports on Sunday. Well, I've got a new podcast with iHeart in the NFL, and we're calling it The Season with Peter Schrager. In each episode of this season, I'm going to empty my proverbial notebook and take you inside and behind the scenes on the conversations that happen at the highest levels of NFL franchises. Listen to The Season with Peter Schrager on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
If cleanliness is next to godliness, look around the car right now. Is that very godly? Look, life comes at you fast, but so does WBNC Auto Detailing. They have the tools to make your interior look like it's coming off the showroom floor. You don't believe me? Check them out on Instagram. All that filth and years of stains disappear. WBNC Auto Detailing does full interior and exterior details with paint correction, and they do wax and ceramic coatings. Call WBNC Auto Detailing at 455-3700. Premium care with a Southern hospitality touch.
The Ingles Advantage isn't just about savings or the best quality food for your family. It's more than that. It's the advantage of being a part of a community. That's why we provide over 2 million pounds of food every year through regular donations and programs like the Ingles Giving Tree, Food for Thought, and the Ingles Fill a Backpack program. It's the right thing to do, and we know that you would do the same. Ingles, your neighbor for over 50 years.
Real estate isn't about properties, it's about people. I'm Clarissa Hyatt-Zach with eXp Realty, your native realtor serving all of Western North Carolina. I will work hard for you, and I believe in doing the right thing every time. I market each of my listings to reach out-of-town buyers. I use a professional photographer and drone video on every single listing, as well as collaborate with agents across the country to find your buyer. Check me out online at clarissasellswnc.com or give me a call at 828-774-6343. It would be my pleasure to assist you through the real estate process.
And we are back in the Ingles Studio on ESPN Asheville. You can see us everywhere on YouTube. And, you still got time to get in on the Super Chat deal of the day. We are going to be giving all Super Chat donations today to the Chasing M's Foundation set up by Damar Hamlin, the safety of the Buffalo Bills, who collapsed on the field on Monday Night Football last night. We're going to be giving all of those donations going to go to the Chasing M's Foundation. So go to thesportsocracy.com, click the live video link. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and get your Super Chat in. You don't even have to give us a topic. I mean, if you got a topic, absolutely give that to us with the Super Chat, and we'll talk about it over the next 25 minutes of the program here. But most of the ones that we've seen today already are just thoughts and prayers for Damar Hamlin, and we can't thank you enough for that.
We didn't cover this at the beginning of the show, but people that have listened to us for a long period of time, we didn't do power rankings today because that just didn't feel right.
No.
We will. The plan is currently to do that tomorrow with Football Thursday because I will not be here on Friday or Monday. I'll be back Tuesday, and there will be a many draft things coming out.
Yes. As we get the ball rolling for the 2023, M. Bradley had just following up on the last, and thank you for the Super Chat as well. That just coming in. Thank you for that, M. Bradley. But commenting on the last segment where we were talking about the players and their money and their risks, he says, at the end of the day, we all make a risk assessment, especially for our careers, and we all use that to make as much money as we can from our employers. That's all the athletes do. That's the way I've always felt. When it gets into the discussion of, oh, so-and-so, can you believe he wants this kind of money? Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. And that's kind of how I've always felt about college athletics as well. That's why, Jeremy, you've constantly told me you're going to get what you want when we start paying players and we start giving them the NIL deals and all of that. I get that it comes with unintended consequences. But those guys those guys take a risk assessment as well.
Agreed.
Those guys take risks as well. And, I get that you get your scholarship and all of that. That's cool. But if I'm making you millions of dollars and I'm not getting a cut of that, putting my body and potentially my life on the line every week for you on the football field, I need to get a little bit more out of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I don't ever say things without thinking about them, but I had not thought about what you just said until you just said it. I would say the days of me complaining about that have probably gone the way of the dodo bird.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and that's coming from somebody that was an athlete their entire life.
Mm-hmm. Well, the NCAA knows changes have to come. They have to change things. And today, a 22-page report came out where the NCAA Division I Transformation Committee, this was a new one to me. I had not heard of the Transformation Committee. But it's all these movers and shakers, Greg Sankey at the head of it, the SEC commissioner. And they're talking about what we need to do to move forward in this new NIL world. And they got a slew of proposals. Many of them just minutia things that we don't even need to talk about. You're not going to see it. It's extra training for coaches and support for players and things like that. And all those things are great. They're not necessarily topic A sports show material, or at least what we do here. However, there is a thing in this 22-page report that struck me as pretty interesting. So the committee recommends, moving forward, allowing 25% of teams in sports sponsored by at least 200 schools to compete in championship events. Now, what does that mean? That means that by this recommendation, and it's only a recommendation, it's not a rule that they're going to do this, but by that recommendation, we could see March Madness, the big moneymaker for the NCAA, because they have all the rights to the tournament and all of that. We could see that go from 68 teams to 90. And I feel like that would be a major mistake.
Well, basically what that would mean is that all of the teams that get into the NIT would be put into basically extra
More
playing games.
Yeah.
The NCAA just can't. Anytime they do anything, I just shake my head and go, you just don't. You don't get it, do you?
You don't get it.
You just don't get it, do you?
I mean, I get it could be a revenue generator for some of these programs that may need it. You get another home game because that's the way that would go down.
Oh no.
You don't think so?
No.
Is this separate sites? This
Oh,
is another weekend of the tournament?
Another slew of Dayton. This is a whole another 5 days of Dayton.
Well, maybe so. But there again, you've got at least another, 12 communities that could benefit greatly from the influx of money coming in from an extra round or two of the NCAA tournament. So
I just don't know what it's going to bring.
Well,
I mean, look, we're at a point where we just want to put everybody in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It seems like every sport is expanding how many teams or entities get into their playoff.
And why is that? Eyeballs. You get more eyeballs. You give them more content, you get more eyeballs. We've been playing this game for 2 years with the YouTube stream. Give them more content, you'll get more eyeballs. And I get it's the same way with sports. College football playoff. Well, 2 wasn't enough.
We all knew 2 wasn't going to be enough.
The BCS thing went the way of the dodo bird when the college football playoff idea came up. And it was, do we go to 16? Do we do 8? No, we started with 4. We started off just taking a bite of the apple. And now, after several years of doing the 4-team playoff, now they've decided we're going to 12. And I don't think it's going to stop there because I think the 12 will be greatly successful. Every game is going to have – they're not – you're never going to pull in NFL numbers. We all know that.
But nobody's chasing NFL numbers.
No, because they know they're never going to get it. But, an accumulation, maybe we can get closer. We give you another few bowl games to watch since you're not watching the current ones because they mean nothing. We'll give you a 12-team playoff and see where that goes.
Well, the 12-team playoff was I almost feel like that was so easy that anybody could have figured that out. Because you completely the bowl season this year has shown none of this matters.
No.
USC Tulane. Yes, Tulane got a great win, probably the greatest win in the history of that program. Do you think USC walked away from that like, oh, I'm so devastated?
No. It was on to the next.
Yeah. On the next year, we got a Heisman Trophy winner coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Got a slew of guys coming out of the portal. We're going to load up, and next year we'll be even further than we were this year.
Absolutely.
That's where I look at the discrepancy between the football playoff and the college basketball tournament. I don't think there's anything wrong with the tournament. It's right. Don't upset that apple cart.
We want more content. And it probably will never get to 90.
I don't think it ever. 72 has always been what I thought the cap was.
Mm-hmm.
Add 4 more play-in games.
Maybe so.
I don't know why you would want to do that, but.
Do you watch play-in games?
No.
You don't?
I might wager them, but if I watch them, it's 5 minutes here or there.
Yeah. There's only
if there's a school from North Carolina, usually, actually.
There are only 2 that I'll watch. Well, 3. I will watch the 11 seed games because those are typically really good. Those are the last teams out, and you never know when one of those teams is going to make a run. VCU's done it. UCLA's done it. There have been a couple of times that those first 4 teams in, those 11 seeds, have made some runs. And, of course, I'll watch it if, UNC Asheville is in the first 4. They're in one of those 16 seed games. Nobody's watching the 16 seed games. The fans of the 1 seeds don't even watch the 16 seed games.
No, because
we don't care. We're going to get onto the court with Texas Western or what? I can't remember. I was trying to think of the team that UNCA beat that one year. They were a Texas team. I don't remember which school it was, but Kansas is not watching that game, or Kansas fans aren't watching that game to go, oh, I'm really scared. Let's see what they bring to the table.
No, adding
but the
more,
11 seed games are good.
Adding more is not always more.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes less is more. College basketball, of all the things you've got wrong, one of the things you have right is your tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the bad thing for college basketball is that their tournaments are so right, the conference tournaments, the NCAA tournament, that it largely makes your regular season it's not that it's irrelevant.
It's not.
But there's a reason it doesn't draw. There's a reason that it doesn't rate.
Well, it means less.
Because you invariably are going to get a shot, no matter how bad you are. I'll give you an example. I am a lifelong Florida State fan.
Mm-hmm.
They are horrendous. But the NCAA suspended their best player. So for the first 15 games, I probably watched a grand total of 10 minutes. As soon as Bob Miller comes back, I might watch a little more.
Mm-hmm.
See if that rounds this team more to where I thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe you can make a run in the tournament.
And if you can get in, maybe you can make some noise. See, that's the thing that I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the first story that we have from the new expanded playoff, whatever it's going to be, or the new expanded March Madness, whatever that turns out to be, of who's the team that's going to make the run. Because I'm excited about the runs. I am always excited to see what little upstart can make a push. And we've talked about, ad nauseum, Jeremy, about how far we want to see that push go. I don't like George Mason ending up in the Final Four. Loyola Chicago in the Final Four. I don't care. I don't want to see you there. Sweet 16 runs? Absolutely. Get into the second weekend of the play of the tournament and then bow out gracefully and let's see the best, 8 teams duke this out. But I like the Cinderella stories. 90 of them? That's a little much.
That's excessive.
That is very, very excessive. But I'm interested to see what the next iteration of the NCAA is going to look like. We got the new the new commissioner that's going to come in and take over for Mark Emmert. He hasn't taken the job yet, so we haven't really seen much from him yet. I think that was going to happen sometime this week. And so we'll see where that goes. But this committee comes out with the 22-page report today, and that was the big takeaway for me, was that 25% participation in championship events. That's a lot.
A lot.
You're in the Sportsocracy here on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. It's been a really hard day to do a radio show. And I hope we've done it well. We haven't offended anybody. We've tried to talk about other things other than Damar Hamlin, but that continues to be the number one story of the day, where most of our minds are right now, hoping that this is a good outcome for Damar Hamlin and his family and all football fans in general, because we're all part of Bill's Mafia today. There is no hatred for your team when something like this happens. So we're all hoping that this turns out very well. We've talked about Jim Harbaugh possibly going to be the next head coach of the Carolina Panthers. David Tepper has apparently reached out and talked to Jim Harbaugh about that. We got this new iteration of the NCAA. And coming back from the break, Jeremy's got some closing thoughts on what's been a very trying day here in the Sportsocracy.
This is your time saver traffic on the new ESPN Asheville.
Heavy traffic volume, 240 westbound between Chuns Cove Road and US 1923, exit 3. 240 eastbound is slow between exit 2 and exit 4A. Again, 240 eastbound slow between Tunnel Road and exit 8. 26 westbound slowing between Airport Road and Bavard Road. 26 on the eastbound side slow between Bavard Road and Airport Road. Future 26 westbound delays between 240 and Elk Mountain Road. Future 26 eastbound stop and go between Riverside Drive and 240. 40 westbound slow between Hendersonville Road and Bavard Road. 40 westbound Haywood County, stop and go between NC 209 and US 276. Merriman Avenue, north and southbound, stop and go approaching Edgewood Road. Patton Avenue southbound is stop and go after Old Haywood Road and approaching I-40. Sweeten Creek Road southbound, stop and go between the Blue Ridge Parkway and Mills Gap Road. Hendersonville Road southbound, stop and go between Biltmore Forest and Overlook Road. I'm Lee Benfield with your Time Saver Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The 2022 NFL season is underway, and there is no better way to stay current with all the news from around the league than with the NFL Now podcast. NFL reporters in the field and right out of the locker rooms, insiders in the know, insightful interviews, and immediate analysis. No waiting required. The time is now. NFL Now. 32 teams, one source. Join me, Andrew Siciliano, for all the football news you need to know. Listen to NFL Now on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
At Ingles, whether we're celebrating Friday night rivals, televising college basketball games, bringing the Fan Fest to semi-pro soccer, or taking you out to the ball game at your minor league park, it's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Since man created roads, they've been looking for ways to get off-road and vehicles to take them there. That's where Outlaw Off-Road comes in. A premier off-road center for Jeeps, trucks, and SUVs with a complete lineup of off-road and overland services, including maintenance and repair to make your vehicle all that it can be. Check out their location right here in Western North Carolina at 85 Avery Creek Road. Call them today at 828-974-8480 or visit them on the web at theoutlawoffroad.com.
When I finally drove the old car into the grave, I knew there was only one place I was going to go. Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville, home of the family plan. And yes, they treat you like family. I went in, told them what I was looking for, told them my budget, and in no time, I was signing the paperwork on my certified pre-owned vehicle. They have the area's largest selection on quality pre-owned vehicles and certified Nissans. They go through a 167-point inspection, so you know it's not going to let you down. They gave me the Carfax report, so I know the history of my vehicle. And the Fred Anderson family plan gives me things like oil changes and car washes and loaner cars if I have to have major work done on the car in the future. For me, buying a car has always been an intimidating thought. But the folks at Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville made it super easy. Don't be like me. Don't wait till the last minute to get a deal done. Go to AndersonNissan.com or stop by the showroom at 629 Brevard Road. And don't forget to mention we sent you from the Sportsocracy and get a $250 bonus on your trade-in at Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville. And welcome back into the Sportsocracy here on ESPN Asheville. Just a few moments of the program left. I want to encourage everybody to continue to throw in the super chats on the YouTube stream. We're going to be donating all of those to Damar Hamlin's charity, the Chasing M's Foundation. So where Tom Brady has thrown in $10,000 to that charity. NFL players, NFL fans, and the like all just responding today in the wake of the tragedy from Monday Night Football last night.
You know, last night showed me something. I'm a very emotional character, and I steer into being the bad guy. And a lot of people throw things into our YouTube chat. There's a lot of visceral response that comes from football fans. Last night is proof positive of something that I really want people to learn from. I want you to remember how you felt last night as you're watching this game that many of us love, and it's a highlight of the week. I want you to remember how you felt last night watching this player who many of you did not know his name before 8:45 last night. And as all of these things went on, and I saw things on Twitter, and I saw the cancel culture of people saying the wrong thing, there's no right thing to say in a situation like this. There are a few people that do what we do who I'm not going to name. I'm not going to give you the platform, even on my small little platform here. I'm not going to give you the time of day. Blaming T. Higgins is about as irresponsible of anything as you can possibly do. And if you've played sports for any period of time, like I have, you have probably at some point accidentally injured someone. Not to the level of what we saw last night, but there's this gut feeling, this sinking feeling in you when you see that. Whether you did anything wrong or not, it doesn't matter. And that's all I've been – not all, but it's a lot of what I've been thinking about over the last 24 hours. T. Higgins did absolutely nothing wrong last night. He put on his cleats, he put on his helmet, and he went to work, which is exactly what DeMar Hamlin did. And so remember that feeling. Remember that helpless feeling. And the help your common man. I'm looking at the charitable donations to this foundation. A lot of people say that the world is not as nice as it used to be. Well, in situations like this, you see that it is, though. There is still good in people. There are still wonderful things that happen in this world on a daily basis. It's just really sad that it has to come in the saddest of times. And so from both of us here, all of our thoughts, all of our prayers are with DeMar Hamlin. The thing that I will remind you of, take what happened last night. And when your team loses or you miss the playoffs or things don't quite go your way, just remember this is a game for you and I. For them, this is work. For them, this is a business. For them, this is a brotherhood that many of us understand on the smallest scale. And things can be taken away in a heartbeat. It's one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I will never forget where I was last night.
Yep. It's absolutely devastating.
And the parting, my parting shot here is Bill's Mafia always finds a way to show up in the darkest of times. Because nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Absolutely. I've got the live GoFundMe page up here. The Chasing M's Foundation Community Toy Drive has now raised $4.95 million. They had a goal of $2,500. And since DeMar went down last night on Monday Night Football, hundreds of thousands of people have donated in honor of him. We all want the greatest of outcomes for DeMar. Just remember this feeling. These guys put it all on the line, week in and week out, for your enjoyment. That deserves a little better of a level of respect than even guys like me and Jeremy give them at times. We'll be back with you tomorrow at 3, right here on ESPN Asheville.
This is Exergen Temp Scanner weather forecast on ESPN Asheville.
Some of the highest elevations to our west have had some 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts and showers coming in from the west tonight and Wednesday here. Mild temperatures, 58 degrees our low tonight. Morning rains Wednesday, breezy, high 66, low 40. And then sunshine Thursday, Friday, high temps in the 40s and 50s and lows near freezing in the valley. The weekend will be in the 50s. I'm meteorologist Scott Larimore. That's the latest Weather Channel forecast.
This is your time saver traffic on the new ESPN Asheville.
Traffic stop and go 240 westbound between Chuns Cove Road and US 1923 exit 3. 240 eastbound slow between exit 2 and exit 4C due to an accident. 26 westbound delays between Airport Road and Bavard Road. 26 eastbound light delays between Bavard Road and Airport Road. Again, 26 eastbound slowing between Hendersonville Road and Chimney Rock Road. Future 26 westbound stop and go between 240 and Elk Mountain Road. Future 26 eastbound heavy delays between Riverside Drive and 240. Patton Avenue southbound, very busy between Old Haywood Road and I-40. Merriman Avenue northbound approaching Edgewood Road, expect heavy delays. Sweeten Creek Road southbound slow between the Blue Ridge Parkway and Mills Gap Road. Hendersonville Road southbound slow between Biltmore Forest and Overlook Road. I'm Lyndon Field with your Time Saver Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance flexes to fit your business needs. From quick repairs to adjustable coverage